In Miami, the heat is on Dan Marino and the Dolphins. They are not putting points on the board, and the pressure is now on the NFL's #1 coaching family to rejuvenate its much-heralded offense. All the news isn't bad, though. The Dolphins' defense is back and making opponents take notice. 15 seasons ago, Miami dominated Minnesota in Super Bowl VIII. Today, they try to get back on track against the Viking team that comes fighting. And for the first time in 6 years, the Minnesota Vikings and the Miami Dolphins meet in the regular season. We are live at Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami on a beautiful Sunday afternoon in South Florida. Yes, it is sunny, and yes, it is hot. Temperatures approaching 90 degrees. And good afternoon again, everyone. I'm Dick Stockton, and there's no question that the Vikings, who have won 3 straight games, have to be considered amongst the elite in the NFC. However, Coach Jerry Burns says his fingers are crossed. He is hoping that this game is not the game that the Miami Dolphins finally break out of their offensive doldrums. They have Marino, Duper, and Clayton, a lot of explosiveness that we haven't seen. And Dan Fouts, why haven't we seen it so far with the Dolphins?
Well, there may be 4 reasons, Dick. Number 1, their offensive line isn't playing the way they should because of inexperience and a few injuries. Number 2, they've had a lot of drop passes, something we haven't seen much of from Clayton and Duper. Some questionable play calling from David Shula, and Dan Marino is not playing up to his high standards. As for the Vikings, they are coming off a very physical game, an emotional game against Philadelphia. They're a beat-up football team. Jerry Burns' main concern is, will our depth finally come through and show us that they can win for us?
All right, Dan, they have a new center in there, and really Tommy Kramer will not have the support of Wade Wilson when the Vikings get the ball, but the Dolphins will have it first, and they've won the toss. Chuck Nelson will kick off for Minnesota. Deep is the newest member. On the left, number 20, the veteran Joe Cribbs. On the right is rookie Jarvis Williams for the Dolphins, ready to return the kick. A gorgeous day. The crowd cheered. The Bears score. They're beating Buffalo, so Miami, if they can make hay today, could gain a game on the AFC East leaders. There's Jarvis Williams, the young Miami Dolphin team trying to find themselves. Now Nelson's ready. And the kick is headed over to Williams down the 2-yard line. And Williams is stopped at about the 15-yard line. Wyman Henderson and Brad Edwards combine to make the stop. And Dan Marino, despite his problems, is 3rd in passing in the AFC, facing the Vikings for the first time ever in the regular season. And this is the Minnesota defense. Doug Martin starting in place of Al Baker. Henry Thomas, Keith Millard, and Chris Dolman up front. The linebackers David Howard, Scott Studwell, and Jesse Solomon. In the secondary, Holt and Lee are the corners. John Harris and Joey Browner are the safeties. 1st and 10 on the 16-yard line. Troy Stratford opens in the backfield. And the first pass for Farrell Edmonds, the rookie tight end, is a big play. Midfield. A 34-yard strike. David Howard on the stop.
Very important for Miami to get started quickly, and especially for this man, Dan Marino. He finds Farrell Edmonds right down the middle, split the double coverage, and Farrell Edmonds is 1 step away from about an 85-yard touchdown.
Edmonds is a rookie from Maryland. He's got a lot of talent, but has been slow getting off the blocks. 2 rookies man the tight end position for Miami. They have a 1st and 10 out midfield. And on to carry is Stratford. And he's got a 1st down on a big hole. John Harris making the stop, but not before. Troy Stratford picks up 17 yards. The rest of the offense, Woody Bennett joined Stratford in the backfield. Duper and Clayton are the outstanding wide receivers. You saw Edmonds already. Dennis, Foster, Dellenbach up front with a rookie Harry Galbraith starting at right guard for Tom Toth, who's on injured reserve, and Ronnie Lee is the right tackle. Lorenzo Hampton comes into the game for the Dolphins, who have a 1st down on the Vikings 33. Penalty marker down and no play. We may have a legal procedure on the offensive line for Miami. Jerry Markbright is our referee today.
Full start, number 74, Offense.
And it's Mark Dennis, the left tackle, still first down.
That may seem like a bad penalty, but that's an indication that the Dolphins are ready to play today. They've had 2 big plays to start the game. Now their offensive line is feeling good about themselves. A little bit over-anxious by Mark Dennis, but he's going against a tremendous pass rusher in Chris Dolman. We got to be able to forgive him on that one.
Miami Dolphins have scored 2 or 4 times on their first possession. They're looking awfully smart here. First and 15 on the Minnesota 38. This time it's Stratford again. And Stratford gets inside the 35-yard line. Jesse Solomon making the tackle.
We'll take a look at the great pursuit by Chris Dolman as they're coming to his side. He's double-teamed by Farrell Edmonds and Mark Dennis, but he fights through it and makes the play. One of the important things that the Dolphins will be trying to do, especially on first down against Marino and company, is to try to shut down the run by blitzing linebackers and bringing up a second and long situation to where Dan will have to throw the ball.
And people like Chris Dolman getting set to blitz if he has the opportunity. Second down and 10 as Stratford made up the penalty yardage. Opening minutes here at Joe Robbie Stadium. Miami with the first possession, and the pass is intercepted by Jesse Solomon, and it'll be blown dead. That interception will count, and Solomon is down, so Marino might have forced that pass and throws his 4th interception of the season.
Jesse Solomon is number 54, right in the middle of the screen here. He sees that his responsibility is trying to pick up the blitz, and I guarantee you that Dan Marino had no idea that Jesse Solomon was in the coverage that time.
So the woes for Dan Marino continue after he hit Farrell Edmonds with that big 34-yard spike. And now the Vikings with the ball. First down on their own 37. Tommy Kramer, the quarterback. Alan Rice on a reverse to Anthony Carter. And Carter just about gets back to the line of scrimmage where John Bosa and John Offerdahl make the stop. What a tremendous defensive effort for the Dolphins this year and on this play.
Well, I got to believe that this is not that great a call to start the game with against a team like Miami, who is a very disciplined defense. They're not going to be fooled by over-pursuing. When you have a defense that over-pursues a lot, you're going to be susceptible to the reverse. While the Dolphins are very disciplined, they stay in their lanes, they play their responsibilities.
Second down and 9. Rick Penny is in at fullback. The Vikings will alternate and shuttle in their fullback. Flips it out to Penny, and Penny is hit at about the 43-yard line by Hugh Green. It'll bring up 3rd and about 5 or 6 for the Miami Dolphins. Their defense has been a blessing with T.J. Turner, Brian Soche, and John Bosa up front. Rick Raff, Mark Brown, John Offerdahl, and Hugh Green, the linebackers. Paul Langford and William Judson are at the corners. Jarvis Williams and Lippert Hobley, the safeties. 3rd and a long 3 for the Vikings on their own 43-yard line. Kramer has time, but no receivers open. And he's not going to get the first down sticks. He stopped short at about the 46. Rick Raff and T.J. Turner on the play. Good coverage by Miami secondary.
When's the last time you heard a Miami crowd give their defense such a cheer? 3 and out. That's what they love to see.
So Bucky Scribner will come in to punt for the Vikings. Scott Schwades on the left and Jarvis Williams on the right will return for Miami. With just about 5 minutes gone by in this first quarter, no score. Scribner gets off a good kick. Schwades will let it bounce, and it will go out of bounds, I believe, just short of the goal line at the 2. A terrific punt. The decision was made to let it roll, and the Dolphins will pay for it.
One of the reasons a team is 1-3 is example right here. Scott Schwades should have caught this ball at about the 14-yard line. Instead, he lets it go, thinking it might go into the end zone, but he Vikings get a great bounce out on the 2-yard line, a 12-yard mistake, and then when you're not playing that well and you want to get things going, field position is very important, and the special teams have to be responsible also.
That was a 53-yard kick by Scribner. There's Dolman, who's off to a great start this year. Troy Stratford is joined by Ron Davenport in the backfield for the Dolphins. They start from the 2. Marino with the toss. Edmonds, the tight end, doesn't get much out to the 6-yard line where David Howard makes the stop. The Chicago Bears defeated the Buffalo Bills 24-3, so now it's incumbent upon the Minnesota Vikings, if they want to remain tied for first in the NFC Central Division, is to win this game, and Miami has a chance to move on. Another final, the Giants have beaten the Redskins for the 2nd time this year. Philadelphia loses Mike Quick. That's a bittersweet victory for them over the Houston Oilers, and Cleveland in front of Pittsburgh. 2nd down and 6 for the Dolphins on their own 6. The first down out to the 17, gain of 11. Scott Studwell on the tackle. The Buffalo Bills did not get any yards rushing in their loss to the Chicago Bears today, and so Buffalo suffers its first defeat of the year.
No yards rushing is kind of hard to imagine, but against the Chicago Bears, number 1 against the rush in the NFL, they seem to be back on track.
Other scores along the CBS Sports Wire as we have finals and some games just getting underway, with the Rams with the early lead. 1st and 10 Miami now on their 18-yard line. They put Stratford wide to the top of your picture. Marino to throw again, gets rid of it in a hurry. And the man he was going for was Mark Duper, and that was well overthrown. And that'll bring up 2nd down.
But again, it was a blitz on 1st down by the Vikings, and single coverage on the outside. Dan didn't quite get his feet set and deliver the ball, trying to get rid of it to avoid the sack.
Jerry Burns says he's more familiar with the Miami Dolphins than you might think, because they have played so many times in preseason in recent years. He's felt that they're more familiar with Miami than they are with Buffalo or even Philadelphia, the team they beat last week. Of course, all Don Shula is looking for is the offense to wake up. He's happy with the defense thus far. Well,
and he accepts some of the responsibility, especially for some of those 4th down calls last week against Indianapolis.
2nd down 10. Hampton being wrestled down by Scott Studwell. That'll be 3rd down. Hampton pulled a hamstring on the route to a touchdown against the Colts last week.
That's amazing that he's in the ball game. If you saw that injury, he limped about the last 10 yards into the end zone. He came back later in the game to try to play a little bit more, but couldn't play. And I am really amazed that he's out there on that field. Must be a real tough young man.
Both Hampton and Stratford have been banged up. Miami struggled on 3rd down conversions this year. 3rd and 9 on their 18. 7:42 remaining in the 1st quarter. No score. 4 wide receivers in there for the Dolphins. Marino's pass. Banks manages to hold on, but well short of the 1st down. Gets to the 22. He needed about 7 or 8 more yards. Isaac Holt and Carl Lee combined to make the stop. There's Holt, who, by the way, missed the team plane into Miami yesterday.
Reports have it he was knocking on the door of the plane trying to get on. The FAA said, we can't do it. And he has to not only pay for his own way down to Miami, but I'm sure that Coach Burns got into his pocket a little bit for some fine money.
Reggie Roby will kick inside his 10. And Leo Lewis is back for the Vikings. Good field position. And Lewis gets into Dolphin territory, where he's downed at the Miami 48 by Bob Brzezinski. A name out of the past. 35-yard kick, and we'll be back to Joe Robbie Stadium.
Next weekend, look for the champions of football on CBS Sports. Saturday, a legendary rivalry that has spanned over 80 years. The Texas Longhorns take on arch rival, the Sooners of Oklahoma. And next Sunday, the action starts with a pregame place to be, the NFL Today. Then, it's Redskins, Cowboys, and a force named Herschel, an NFC East collision. Or see a black and blue division battle when the Bears meet the Lions. That's all next weekend on CBS Sports.
Dolphins trying to keep cool on the sideline here at Joe Robbie Stadium. No score with 6 minutes and 52 seconds remaining in the first quarter.
You can always tell the veterans, too. They're the closest to the fan. There's Roy Foster in his 7th year. See, all the rookies are down the other end. The guy in the hat, you know he's a rookie. He's not going to play.
First and 10 Vikings on the Dolphin 49. Rice and Anderson are the backs for Kramer. Anderson removed. And Allen Wright gets a couple. And it's P.J. Turner making the stop for Miami.
We should see the ball in the air a lot today, Dick. Both these teams have had trouble running the ball, and both teams have very explosive pass offenses.
Cleveland and Seattle score victories.
That doesn't happen very often for the Cleveland Browns in Pittsburgh. I think that's only 3 times in about 16, 17 years.
Time to pop the champagne corks after that win. They needed it. Second down and 8 for the Vikings on the Miami 47. Up ahead is Finney, and Mark Brown has an arm around him. Mark Brown's an interesting story because many of the Miami Dolphins feel that their defensive improvement started to turn around when Mark Brown became the starter over Jackie Shipp, who right now wants to be traded.
And the one thing that Mark told us is that he felt that his teammates really wanted him in the game, and when he got in the game, it seemed to bring them all together. They're all on the same page, and they started playing well, like you said.
4 defensive linemen. The top pick, Eric Kummerow, number 90, is in the game. 3rd and 5, Minnesota. Kramer's pass. Great defense that time by Rodney Thomas. The nickel back. Anthony Carter was the intended receiver. And Thomas, the rookie from Brigham Young, was right there.
Carter's number 81, and there's Thomas, number 45. This is a little delay pattern and then back out, trying to take advantage of perhaps too close of coverage. But Thomas played this extremely well. Not bad for a rookie going against an all-pro player like Anthony Carter.
Who's coming back home. Riviera Beach is where he was born, just 45 minutes from this stadium. So on 4th down, Bucky Scribner will kick. Scott Schwade's on the right, Jarvis Williams on the left. High kick doesn't go very far, and Schwade's will call the fair catch at the 21-yard line. So it's been a sparring partner kind of game. That was only a 22-yard kick. Doug Martin is starting at left end today. He was a longtime holdout, and he replaces Al Baker. And Al Baker's not here. He has been suspended for 1 game because he poked Ron Heller, the Eagles' right tackle, in the eye last week. It was very apparent. Everyone saw this replay. Bob Fishman, our director, caught it, and Baker has to sit out.
Heller spent 5 days in the hospital, and Bubba Baker losing a game check today, about 20 grand.
First down and 10 for the Dolphins on the 22-yard line. Bennett and Stratford the back. Troy Stratford wins his way out to the 25. He re-injured an ankle in practice on Wednesday, and he was the leading rusher and receiver coming into this game for the Dolphins. Studwell made the tackle on that play. Pick up a 4. Second down and 6 on the 26-yard line. There's Floyd Peters, who is the defensive coach, and what a defense the Vikings have shown the last 2 weeks.
He doesn't mind if the Dolphins throw it every down. He feels that will play into his defensive scheme of things today.
Clayton comes in motion for the Dolphins. Marino pumps, gets hit as he throws the ball incomplete, intended for Clayton. And right now, for an NFL Today report, let's check in with Brent Musburger in New York. Brent?
Well, Dick, this could be a tough day for the 3 unbeatens. The Bills have lost to Chicago. The Cardinals strike first on the Rams. Lomax to Roy Green. And moments ago, Tampa Bay moved ahead of Green Bay, 27-24. Igwe Buike, 44-yarder with 8 seconds to go. Back to Dick and Dad.
All right, Brent, thank you very much. 4:38 remaining in the first half. 3rd down and 6. On the 26 for the Dolphins, they have 4 wide receivers in there, including Banks and Duper. Actually, 5 down linemen for the Vikings. And Banks makes the catch and might have been off to the races, but Joey Browner prevented a huge gain. It was 14 as it is.
You're right, Dick. They did bring in an extra defensive lineman, Tim Newton, to join this group. And watch Chris Dolman, number 56. He fakes the rush. He drops back into coverage. Marino saw that, found out where Banks was, and like you said, Dick, this was almost another long touchdown. The Vikings have come close, or rather the Dolphins have come close a few times to really breaking one. John Harris has had to make 2 saving tackles. And there's Dolman going back to his old days as a linebacker. And now you know why he's almost an all-pro as a defensive lineman.
On first down, Lorenzo Hampton out to the 44-yard line. So the Dolphins, who had a first down at the 40, get closer to midfield. Lorenzo Hampton, the complete back, according to David Shula. He'll go out of the game, and they bring in Stratford again, so it looks like the Dolphins are shuttling in their running backs.
A lot of people have questioned the relationship between Dan Marino and David Shula. The fact that the Dolphins let Don Strock go this year, very close friend of Dan Marino's, and also a guy who was calling the plays the last couple of years for him.
It's an issue here. Here's Stratford. He's got Galbraith, the rookie, blocking, and Stratford barely gets back to the line of scrimmage. Doug Martin puts the seal in. And it'll be third down and about 5 as you see the time winding down in the first quarter.
I might even question that call a little bit. We got a Viking down on the field. Looks like it's Isaac Holt. I know he was trying to break up the interference on that play as the Dolphins pulled 2 linemen out in front of Stratford, but they got good penetration and made the play.
Miami hasn't been able to run the ball much right now. We'll take a break.
Isaac Holt got a shoulder injury on this play. Watch, he's number 30 from the left. Roy Foster will drive his right knee right into his right shoulder, and that's the problem there.
And replacing him is Wyman Henderson, second year out of UNLV. So the Vikings, as you mentioned at the outset, Dan, have been banged up on both sides of the ball. Miami has had the ball most of the time. Third down and 5. Dolphins on their own 45-yard line. Still no score.
Take a look at Duper against the Wyman Henderson, who just comes into the game. Wyman, this is Dan Marino at his very best. Great pass on time. Duper is wide open and makes a nice gain after the catch. Great way to have to come into the game. The first guy you see is Mark Duper, and Dan Marino gets time to throw, throws the ball on the money, fine throw.
And that's what the fans want here. They want the trademark Marino to Duper and Clayton. They don't want the short stuff.
Yeah, defense is fine, but we got Marino.
First and 10 Dolphins on the Viking 22 with 1:38 to go in the first quarter. Marino trying to hold on to it is Mark Clayton, and he does. He's short of a first down by a couple. Carl Lee was all over him, and he made a fine catch.
When things are going good, you seem to be able to get these types of catches. This is just a one-handed grab. Good throw to the outside, and Clayton makes a fantastic one-handed catch of that ball. Great coverage by Carl Lee. Not much more he can do.
So the Vikings backing up against their own goal line. Second down and 3 for Miami on the Minnesota 15-yard line with exactly a minute to go in the first quarter. Roy Foster might have drawn the Viking defense offsides, and apparently that'll be the call. It'll be a 5-yard penalty.
Ball starts, number 61, offense.
And it is Roy Foster.
Second down.
5-yard penalty. We want to welcome the viewers who saw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers even the score, or actually beat Green Bay for the second time this year, beating the Packers 27-24. This is Dick Stockton along with Dan Fouts. We're at Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami. The final minute of the first quarter, no score between the Vikings and the Dolphins. But the Dolphins threatening, have a 2nd and 8 on the Minnesota 20. Dan Marino, the quarterback, calling an audible here. Lorenzo Hampton is stopped from behind by Henry Thomas. And that'll bring up third seen thus far, Dan?
This has really been, like you said earlier, Dick, a kind of a heavyweight fight where both teams are feeling each other out, throwing a couple of bombs, making a couple big plays on both sides of the field. Marino seems to have his rhythm going early today. He hit Farrell Edmonds on the first play of the game for a big gain. And now we're going to have the end of the first quarter, and it should be a lot more fireworks.
And that's the end of the first quarter. No score.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Castrol, the motor oil engineered for today's smaller cars. Bud Light, proud sponsor of the 1988 U.S. Olympic team. And by Honda, maker of the CRX-SI 1988 Motor Trend Import Car of the Year.
We're at Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami. Dick Stockton and Dan Fouts. We've had a scoreless first quarter, and it's a hot, sunny day. How will that affect the Minnesota Vikings, in your opinion?
You notice the Dolphins are wearing their white jerseys. They have white helmets. The Vikings, of course, are in their home purple, and the dark helmets. That dark color will absorb heat and make it very warm under those plastic caps they're wearing.
4 wide receivers, including Mr. Everything, Jim Jensen, for the Dolphins. 5 down linemen for the Vikings. 3rd and 9 at the 21. Marino's pass incomplete. Clayton was the intended receiver, and that'll bring up 4th down. So here the Dolphins had a first down on the 22, and their offense short-circuited, and including a penalty. It is now 4th down, and Fuad Reveiz will come in to try to give Miami the lead.
Good play by the Minnesota front line. They put good pressure on Marino that time. Play before, they stopped the run very well. The penalty mix in there, and here we have a try for a field goal where it looked like the Dolphins might get a touchdown.
A 38-yard attempt. Reveiz is 3 for 4 this season. Ron Jaworski holds, and the kick is good. So the Miami Dolphins, who have lost 3 out of 4, jump ahead of the Minnesota Vikings 3-0. When the Dolphins were dominating the league a while back, it looked like this. A great defense, 15 yards only for Minnesota, and controlling the ball as they used to with Zonka and kick on the ground. Miami with a 3-0 lead on Fuad Reveiz's 38-yard field goal. That's his longest of the season. He'll be kicking off now, and deep is Darrell Harris for the Vikings.
The only problem with those stats, Dick, is there are only 3 points on the board.
Deep into the end zone, Reveiz with a great kick. It'll be down for the touchdown. And the Vikings will take over on the 20-yard line. So Minnesota comes in with an important game, 3-1, 3 straight wins. How would you grade overall the Vikings right now and the Dolphins?
Well, I have to give the Dolphins a little bit of an edge right now because they have been able to control the ball. I believe they're going to wear them down today. It's very hot, it's very humid. Vikings are beat up. They're coming off 2 very emotional wins.
And they are beat up, and we're going to watch the center position where Chris Foote is starting for Loudermilk, who's hurt. Kramer doesn't really have a solid backup. First down, Kramer pumps and goes deep for Carter. And defending was Paul Langford. That throw was overthrown, and that'll bring up 2nd down.
Vikings are going to try and get Anthony Carter involved in this game. He's got a big rooting section here today. In fact, he went out and he bought 38 tickets. And I asked him yesterday, I said, now, how many of those people that you bought those tickets for are going to, shell out some cash for? He says, not a single one. 26 bucks a pop. I can't even figure it out, Dick, but I know it's a lot of money.
Carter, by the way, was property of the Dolphins, and Miami traded him to Minnesota, a trade that Don Shula regrets, says it's the worst trade he ever made. 2nd and 10, Vikings on the 20. Pressure on Kramer. It's kicked at the line. Rick Graff might have gotten a hand on it, and he did.
This is John Boza working against Gary Zimmerman here. This is a good matchup. Zimmerman gets a good shot off there, but he gets pressure. Tommy Kramer does up front, and Soche knocks the ball down as he tried to deliver it. Good job by Kramer avoiding the rush, but also a good job by Soche of keeping the ball from
Kramer is getting pressure some of the time, but one thing is obvious. He isn't sharp yet. And it's 4th down, and Scribner will come in and kick.
Tommy said last week's game against the Eagles was the most physical game he's ever played in his career. He is a beat-up young man right now. He's got a sore left hand, and I know one thing, he's feeling a little bit edgy about his performance, and the Viking front line has got to give him better protection.
Scott Schwades goes deep for the Dolphins, who lead 3-0 and will get their hands on the ball again. A booming kick, a great kick by Scribner, sends Schwades back inside his 30. And he is nailed with a penalty marker down as well. Rick Fenny on the stop, but there's a flag down. And Jerry Markwright will tell us what it's all about. Well, yesterday, Oklahoma beat Iowa State 35-7, Texas over Rice, and college football action continues next Saturday on CBS as the Oklahoma Sooners, ranked 10th, take on the Texas Longhorns in their annual border clash. Coverage begins at 2:30 Eastern Time.
Oklahoma's looking for its 4th straight win, but it won't be easy down there in the Cotton Bowl.
And we'll have a holding penalty against the Vikings. Eric Metcalf, who's the son of Terry Metcalf, the running back, leads the Longhorns, and that is always one of the great traditional battles in college football.
If Eric Metcalf can be half the ball player's daddy Terry was, we've got something special to watch on Saturday.
We have a conference going on. The preliminary signal was a holding call against the Minnesota Vikings.
Well, if you look at Scott Studwell's pants there, you see he's been in the middle of the action today. He's got blood all over the front of his nice white pants. My goodness.
Vikings were locked in a bitter battle, physical-wise, with the Philadelphia Eagles last week.
If ever there's a team that's ripe for the picking, that's susceptible to being upset, it's the Vikings today. They have a, like you said, Dick, 2 tough games the last 2 weeks. Very physical, but also very emotional.
There's only one foul on the play. One foul. Illegal use of the hands, number 58, on the kicking team during the return. 5-yard penalty, end of the run, 1st down.
Walker Lee Ashley, the guilty party, a 5-yard penalty.
That's an unusual call, isn't it? Against the team that's down trying to cover underneath the punt. Illegally using his hands, trying to probably get some type of leverage.
Normally it's the other way around. We're used to that illegal block call.
I'd already moved him back 15.
Well, let's move him back the other way. So they'll spot the ball at the 34-yard line. We're in the opening minute of the 2nd quarter. Dan Marino has had his problems. He's already thrown 1 interception in the game. Yet the Dolphins lead it 3-0. They've done it primarily on the ground, and a couple of strikes have helped them. 1st and 10 on the 34 for Miami. Marino, quick toss. Troy Stratford picks up maybe 3. Scott Studwell on the stop. Giants over the Washington Redskins. So the Redskins now have lost 2 in a row to the Cardinals and the Giants. 2nd loss of the season to the Giants. Other final scores on the CBS Sports Wire. Chicago Bears, they go 4-1, and the Minnesota Vikings, who trail here, will look for a win to stay even with the Bears in the NFC Central. 2nd and 7 for the Dolphins on their 37. There quickly to prevent disaster as the Dolphins nearly turned it over for the 2nd time in the game.
Well, he better be there quickly because it's partly his responsibility to get this ball to Stratford. It's a little delay route pattern, and the handoff is just not smooth. It appeared that the ball was in his midsection. Maybe Stratford took his eyes off the exchange.
Henry Thomas stormed in and very nearly got that ball away. It'll be 3rd and long, 3rd and 13 for Marino. He mentioned facing the Vikings for the first time. The Giants are the only other team he's never faced in regular season in the NFL. On a design sprint out, Marino on the run. He hits Mark Clayton, and Clayton is close to 1st down yardage. This may call for a measurement. Jesse first down at about the 44. And they give it to him. First down, Miami.
Well, they may have given it to him, Dick, but he deserved it. He really stretched out at the very end of that run. This is the type of play to sustain a drive, to sustain some momentum that the Dolphins have got to have today. They've been struggling all year long, and it's up to players like Clayton and Duper and Marino to come up with a big play when they most need it. This is really the first big play of the game to keep a drive going for the Dolphins.
On first down, Bennett trying to go outside. Hurdles a would-be defender and picks up a couple of yards. And a penalty marker down. We may have a personal foul as the heat increases on the field. The intensity also moves up a couple of notches. They want to get away from the play.
We'll take a look at it here, and there's the first shove, and there's the right cross by Galbraith, and I bet you Galbraith gets this flag. Studwell just gave him the old two-hand shove in the chest.
We have 2 dead ball fouls.
I was wrong.
Number 56, personal foul, unnecessary roughing, Minnesota. Same foul for number 62, Miami. Penalties offset, second down.
Poor Chris Dolman, I don't know where he was. It looked like Scott Studwell was the Viking, so I think they meant Studwell. It's Studwell and Galbraith.
Well, with that type of officiating, those guys could work at the next Olympics.
They had a few strange ones, didn't they? Decisions over in Seoul.
I mean, the guy throws a right hand, and he gets the same as the guy who just gave him two-hand push.
Second down and 6 at the 49. Dolphins with a lead in their own territory. Marino on the run. Hits Stratford out of the backfield. He's got the first down. He put the juke on Browner, and he's still going. Down to the 11, a gain of 36.
Get the highlight film ready. This is unbelievable. The very end of this play, we may see a penalty, a face mask that we don't quite get there called, but this is an outstanding play. Marino read the defense. They came with the blitz. Stratford just awesome.
He's the leading receiver coming into this game. And Troy Stratford has given the Miami Dolphins a first down at the 16-yard line. Stratford getting a well-deserved breather. His boyhood idol was Tony Dorsett. That's the guy he always said he wanted to be closest to.
Well, he's built a little bit like Tony. He has some of the same type of moves, but I'm not sure we've ever seen a move from Tony Dorsett like Troy Stratford just put on.
Joey Browner got to be kicking himself. He was in position to make the play. First and 10. And Marino fires it away. Ron Davenport was the receiver. Not even close. David Howard defending on the play. And Marino did that by design.
Well, he did get it away. But let's go back one play to Troy Stratford coming out of the backfield, number 23. Here's the blitz on the outside. And you won't ever see a better move than this. Joey Browner's got to be thinking, the guy's a ghost. I had him. Where did he go? And John Harris has got to be thinking, what do I have to do to stop this guy?
Let's give him some credit, too. Harris and Browner both got baked out of their shoes. So it'll be second and 10 on the 16. Stratford and Davenport in the backfield. Keith Millard, who had a brilliant game with 4 sacks last week, jumped, and we'll see if it was the right side of the Dolphin line.
Encroachment foul, number 75, defense, and second down.
It'll be second down. It was Millard.
Well, he may be feeling a little frustrated. The Dolphin front line has shut him out so far today. He's going up against Harry Galbraith there. Harry Galbraith's a youngster, a rookie, who's got tremendous foundation. The coaches like the way he can hold his own in there. I found out one of the reasons why he has such a good foundation. He wears a size 16 shoe.
Ooh, that'll do it every time.
Good base.
So it's second and 5 following the penalty. Ball at the 10-yard line. Marino quickly gets it to to Duper, and Duper is out of bounds. Not quite. The clock continues to run at about the 1-yard line. Isaac Holt on the stop. Dolphins are threatening to move ahead by 2 scores.
But look how far Isaac Holt is off of Duper. This is an audible by Marino. Quick out to Duper. I think the Dolphins must be practicing this little duck move because Duper almost got under Holt and into the end zone.
It'll be 1st and goal at the 1-yard line. So the Vikings have to be bewildered right now as the Miami Dolphins, with a 3-0 lead, are threatening to raise the lead. 3 tight ends, Edmonds, Brian Kitchen, both of them are rookies, and John Giesler, a tackle. Woody Bennett does not get in. Keith Millard led the charge for Minnesota. With 10 minutes and 10 seconds to go in the 2nd quarter, Lloyd Peters trying to design a defense against the goal line threat.
They've been awfully tough against their opponents inside the 20-yard lines. 7 out of 10 is a pretty good percentage as far as keeping your opponent off the board. But he's really got his work cut out for him. 1 yard away, the Dolphins had trouble last week against Indianapolis in the same type of situation.
It's 2nd and goal at the 1. And they go to Hampton, and he'll lose a couple of yards. He'll be stuffed back to the 4-yard line. And it was Doug Martin who stormed in that time. And it's 3rd and goal.
Great penetration by the purple shirts. Watch how far into the Miami backfield they get. There's Tim Newton, Doug Martin, Joey Browner's back there. I'm not sure I like that call, Dick. I think if I've got 1 yard to go, I want to go up over the top with just a simple lead play. No sense trying to go wide.
And Lewis Cheek, a rookie from Texas A&M, has replaced Ronnie Lee at right tackle for the Dolphins. He has stomach cramps. He's in the dressing room. 3rd and goal after 3. Jensen is in motion. Marino's pass to Jensen, touchdown.
There's Marino's 6th touchdown of the year. Jensen's just on a quick little flat pattern out of the backfield. The curious thing on this play for me, Dick, look who's guarding him. There's number 79. That's Doug Martin, who came out of his pass rush to try to pick up Jensen.
Jim Jensen with his first touchdown of the season, and Fuad Reveiz, with Jaworski holding, will try to give the Dolphins a stunning 10-0 lead here. And he does. 8 minutes and 50 seconds to go. He may be the MVP of this club with all the things he does. 10-0 Miami. An impressive scoring drive by the Miami Dolphins, and Dan Marino was 5 for 6 on the drive. The big play was the 36-yard pass. Stratford did most of the work, and the Dolphins lead the Vikings 10-0. Fuad Reveiz will be kicking off now, and Darrell Harris is the deep man for the Vikings. And he'll sail it out of the end zone for a touchback. Well, Jim Jensen caught the touchdown pass, and you'll just about see him line up anywhere for the Miami Dolphins. These are the different roles he assumes. He can be a wide receiver, tight end, running back. He's also the number 3 quarterback on the club. He can cover on kicks. He's a backup holder and long snapper, and the special teams captain, a great man to have on your club.
Well, I'd like to be his agent. I think I could make him a pretty good deal if we could pay him for each one of those different positions. I'm afraid he's getting paid like a special teams captain.
Darren Nelson is in the game for the Minnesota Vikings at running back. He's been hurt with a sprained ankle. First down on the 20-yard line, and here's Nelson. And Nelson getting back into action, brings it out to the 26-yard line. John Offerdahl and Rick Raff on the stop.
This is a good way to come back into the lineup with something nice and simple. By that, I mean he doesn't have to do a lot of tricky cutting on that sore ankle. It's just the old Statue of Liberty play here. You fake the pass and you hand back to the halfback, and then it turns into a little sweep. But if Nelson can play a lot today, he'll really give this Viking team a lift.
Time of possession, Miami with a huge edge. 2nd down and 4 at the 26 of Minnesota. And here's Nelson again. Nelson is stopped short of the first. I wonder what he's watching. Can't be watching us. We're blacked out in Miami. Are you offended?
He might be watching highlight, but he also looks like a big wrestling fan.
I vote for wrestling. first down at the 11 for the Vikings. Trailing 10-0. Anthony Carter is bumped down hard by John Offerdahl, but not before Carter picks up a first down. 13 yards in all.
How does a guy this size take this type of beating? I just don't know how he can do it. This is a tremendous hit by Offerdahl, but you got to feel that the Vikings are going to get Carter more involved, especially at this time of the game.
2-minute warning now.
Number 1, Miami battles 5th-ranked Notre Dame in 2 weeks on CBS Sports.
Miami Dolphins surprising the Minnesota Vikings 10-0 with 2 minutes remaining in the first half. Each team has the full complement of 3 timeouts remaining. Coming up at halftime, Brent Erb and Dick Butkus will bring you up to date with scores and highlights of the NFL today. First and 10 at the 24-yard line. Darren Nelson and Alfred Anderson the backs. Kramer will go to the air, and diving is Steve Jordan. Incomplete. The Vikings gained 57 of their 85 total yards in their last drive, so they may be starting to get their motor running a bit offensively now.
Yeah, but the bend and break defense, bend but don't break defense, that is, of the Dolphins, didn't break. In fact, they came up with the big block of the field goal by Graf.
That's the big defensive play. That's a perfect example of bend and don't break right there. Second and 10 for Kramer on the 24. Kramer fires, intercepted. Offerdahl. And he gets the crowd out of its seats. Intended for Jordan. Good Miami pressure. Is sitting pretty.
Real good pressure on Kramer. Here's Jordan, gets off inside. Again, I don't believe Kramer saw Offerdahl as he comes from the offside to make the grab. We saw an interception earlier in the game by Jesse Solomon where Marino didn't see him, and here's the pressure on Kramer. There's just no way that Tommy could see Offerdahl. He thought he had a completion.
Only the 3rd interception of the year for the Miami Dolphins. They're last in the AFC, which belies how well their defense has been. But now the Dolphins, they have 3 timeouts remaining. First and 10 on the Minnesota 31. 1:46 on the clock. And Marino hits his man, Duper. And that'll be a first down for Miami. And there you see Marino. Let's line up and run it. 13 yards.
You really feel the confidence coming back to the Dolphins now. They've struggled all year long, but now Marino is winging that ball. Duper and Clayton are making the big catches.
13 of their 17 plays this quarter have been through the air. Marino finding his range and timing. First down on the 18. Here's another one on the 5-yard line. Troy Stratford gets in. Let's see if he was stopped short. He was. He is stopped at the 1-yard line, but the Dolphins are ready to go in for another score. And Stratford wishes he had the TD. Not that time.
This is the first time I've been able to watch Dan Marino as a fan, and I'm loving every minute of it. Stratford's coming out of the backfield here. He's going to run a simple option route against the zone coverage there. He splits Ashley Lee Walker and Jesse Solomon and just bounces on the goal line. I'm not so sure that's not a touchdown.
As a fan or a reporter, now what do you like about Dan Marino now that you're seeing him from up here?
I just love his style. He gets back there. He's got his rhythm going for himself now. He bounces around in that pocket, and then when that right arm comes forward, it comes forward with a lot of authority.
The Dolphins have called a timeout. That's their first timeout. And they have a first and goal at the 1. There's the story with the clock.
Now the question is, will the Dolphins get in for the touchdown? They were here earlier in the second quarter, and they got stopped. And then Marino had to throw the ball in for the score to Jensen, but their running game has got to score from this, what's that, 6 inches away?
Looks like that. Hampton and Bennett are the running backs here. 2 tight ends with Pinchin and Edmonds, and Giesler also a blocker, practically a 3rd tight end. Marino will throw wide open to Stratford, touchdown. Hampton, Lorenzo Hampton, check that. And the Dolphins now lead it by a score of 16-0.
Well, I guess we'll just go with our strength. And right now, our strength, or if you're the Miami Dolphins coaching staff, has got to be the right arm of Dan Marino. Simple play action. He throws the ball almost end over end to Hampton in the end zone. But where are the Viking defenders? They're nowhere to be found.
For Hampton, his second touchdown reception of the year. And Don Shula has seen his Dolphins play their best ball easily of the season. They lead 16-0. Wad Revay with the extra point. It's perfect. And with 1:07 remaining in the first half, it's Miami with a shocking 17-0 lead. Well, next Sunday on CBS, it all begins with the NFL Today at 12:30 Eastern Time. The big game of the day, the Redskins against the Cowboys. That great traditional rivalry at Texas Stadium. The Chicago Bears against the Detroit Lions in an NFC Central battle, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who beat the Green Bay Packers for the second time this year today, will go against these Vikings at the Metrodome. That's next Sunday on CBS. Wad Revay, who has chipped in with a 38-yard field goal to give Miami the 3-0 lead that they have since padded to 17-0. Kicking off, Darrell Harris goes back for the Vikings. And another good kick by Revay, and Minnesota has no opportunity to run back the kicks. They'll take it down on the 20-yard line, and let's see what Tommy Kramer does with 1:07 on the clock.
They call him 2-minute Tommy because of his how he's so good at running his team down the field in the last 2 minutes of the game. In fact, 15 times he's led the Vikings to victory in that situation. Well, this is where you get to practice it. This is the end of the first half. He's got a minute to go, 80 yards. Did you say 2 timeouts or 3, Dave?
They have 3 timeouts left.
He's as good as they come at moving them down the field and getting points.
Well, he's got Carter. He's got Leo Lewis. Flips it to Anderson. He was in trouble. A great rush put on. T.J. Turner putting pressure on Kramer, who told us last night that last week's game against Philadelphia was the worst pounding he's ever taken. Paul Langford is leaving Joe Robbie Stadium to go to the dressing room. He has a twisted right knee, and the early report is that they expect that he'll be back. But Kramer, 5 for 13 with 1 interception by Offerdahl, and the Dolphins capitalize. 2nd and 10. Wide open is Rice out of the backfield, and he'll be stopped short of a first down at the 28-yard line. Under a minute remaining, and now the Minnesota Vikings will use one of their 3 timeouts. Again, we want to remind you, coming up at halftime, the NFL Today will update you with the scores and highlights with Brent Irv and Dick Butkus in our New York studios. All right, Dan, you're in this position. You have a 3rd and 1 and 50 seconds to go and 2 timeouts left. There's the brain trust on the Minnesota sideline.
The important thing they're talking about is now, let's get the first down. Let's not have to kick the ball away to the Dolphins and Dan Marino. Marino's got the hot hand. The Minnesota front line has not been able to sack him yet today, and that's got to be a major concern for that entire Minnesota sideline, is where's the defense today?
Well, Kramer has stayed healthy, and that's an important story in this game because Wade Wilson with a separated shoulder is going to be out several weeks. Rich Gannon is the backup. He hasn't played much. Alan Rice will get the first down. A penalty marker down. Looks like a face mask call at the 35-yard line against the Dolphins. Eric Kumaro made the stop. Talk about costly penalties. There's a big one.
And not only is it a big penalty, Dick, as far as yardage is concerned, they had the first down.
5-yard face mask foul against the defense. It's first down.
5 yards.
But the real bonus is here, it stops the clock. So the Vikings do not have to use their 2nd timeout. Here they're going just with a simple blast play over their strong side. And Kumaro will come in with the left hand there and just grab Rice by the face mask and drag him down. They had plenty for the first down, though, without the penalty.
44 seconds remain in the first half. They still have 2 timeouts. Kramer on the 41-yard line. Let's fly. And a great catch by Carter. He got turned around and made the sensational catch of the game at the 16-yard line.
watch how deep they're playing. They're playing what you call soft. Carter just uses tremendous speed to outrun Henderson and then reaches over his back to make the grab. The fans are booing because they don't think he had complete control, and I don't either. The referee is concerned with making the call here. There's Thompson with the coverage. It's going to go all the way to Minnesota.
First and 10 at the 16-yard line. Kramer going for Carter again, and he overthrows him. Thompson again defending, so Kramer was going back to a good thing, Anthony Carter, to no avail.
Well, the Dolphins gave double coverage that time to Carter, and it paid off. Tommy read it well. He's getting time to throw now, and that does not bode well for the Vikings or the Dolphins record as far as giving up touchdown passes.
30 seconds to go. Second down and 10 at the 16. Kramer and Jordan had it, and it's intercepted by Miami. Mark Brown. And the Dolphins still haven't given up a passing score this year. Kramer's arguing about something, Dan.
Here's Kramer. Sometimes you just have bad luck, and that's all this is if you're a Viking fan. Kramer drills Jordan with the ball. Mark Brown is heads up, makes the grab off the deflection. Kramer's upset that he thought that Jordan was held on his pass route. He threw a fine pass in there, but a tough catch. Mark Brown got a little bit of help from another linebacker, but really the heads-up part of that, seeing where the ball was off the deflection and being able to grab it. Outstanding.
Two big interceptions by the inside linebackers of the Dolphins, Brown and Offerdahl. Offerdahl's pickoff led to a touchdown, and now with 21 seconds to go, Marino, not taking any chances, will run out the clock. So Miami's defense has made the big plays. A blocked field goal and two big interceptions. And at halftime, as the clock runs down, the Dolphins lead 17-0. What a shocker here in Miami. Miami 17, Minnesota 0.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by AT&T. The right choice. Michelob. Michelob is a proud sponsor of the 1988 U.S. Olympic team. And by Subaru. We built our reputation by building a better car.
With Dick Butkus and Irv Cross, I'm Brent Musburger. Only two unbeatens left, and right now both of them are ahead. The Rams by 4 points over the Phoenix Cardinals. The Rams striking first on a Greg Bell touchdown. Then it was Lomax going to the jet stream. Green, 34 yards, and it was deadlocked at 7. But back came Greg Bell, his second touchdown of the day, Dick.
Well, I'll tell you what, Greg Bell's having a great day, and, you know, next week Charles White is eligible. Only trouble is I think he lost his job. Greg Bell's doing a good job running.
When you take a look at Greg Bell and company, you wonder, you know, why the Rams hesitated to make that Dickerson deal. Huh? Those guys are red hot with those new players they got.
The other unbeaten team, the Cincinnati Bengals, all over the Raiders right now. Late in the second quarter, 24-7, 2 touchdown passes by Esiason. The Jets, they could move into a first-place tie as the third unbeaten. Buffalo fell today at Chicago. 10-0 the score. The Jets lead the Chiefs right now. Denver trying to bounce back from a dismal start. They're shutting out San Diego at the half, 6-0. San Francisco leading Detroit. It is 10-3. Jerry Rice scored again, not on a pass. Watch the quarterback on the block for the reverse. Now, what about this, Dick?
Right.
Joe Montana taking on one of your linebackers.
I don't like it at all, buddy. You know what I mean? Come on.
All right, Minnesota and Miami, the game you folks are watching right now, and the Dolphins all over the Vikes right now. It is 17-0. Here comes Marino. Pick up Jimmy Jensen, 3 yards out. And I'll tell you, Irv, the Dolphins are dominating.
Well, they're dominating. You know, the Vikings, I talked to some of the players this morning. He said their biggest concern is they didn't want Marino to get hot because they hadn't given up a touchdown pass until today. And, of course, it looks like old Dan has found the connection.
Yeah, Minnesota don't have to worry about the weather being hot. Marino's hot. He has over 200 yards in the first half.
Could be a long afternoon for the Vikes, but still time to go. We'll continue with the NFL Today right after these messages from your local stations. With Dick Butkus and Irv Cross, I'm Brent Musburger. Big one in the NFC East. It was the Giants and the Redskins. Redskins miss an extra point. That winds up being the difference. The return of Lawrence Taylor after the 30-day drug suspension. He contributes right away. In the early moments of the game, he forces a fumble. Recovered by the Giants, they kick the field goal to go ahead. Then with Doug Williams watching from the sideline, his young replacement, Mark Rippon, rallies the Redskins in the second half. Twice he goes to Ricky Sanders. This one for 49 yards, and the lead was cut to 8. Back they would come again as Dexter Manley would lead the sack brigade against Phil Simms. 4 times in the second half, Manley would haul down number 11. Then it all came down to the rookie kicker from Minnesota, Chip Lohmiller. This 36-yarder could win it for the Redskins. A bad shank that time. And so Lohmiller and the Redskins lose it. And, Dick, what about Lawrence Taylor's return? How was he today?
Oh, he was terrific. And I tell you, not only was he terrific, it just went throughout the whole team. Second half, I caught him grabbing the oxygen a little bit. Maybe tomorrow he's going to be a little sore because he hasn't been bumped up lately. But I tell you what, with this victory, those bumps go right away.
You know, Brent, you have to salute both teams. It was a great effort. It was a championship effort by both football teams. But, you know, Chip Lohmiller was picked in the second round by the Redskins this year. Hasn't come through for him as a kicker, so don't be surprised to see a whole parade of kickers come through Redskins Park next week.
Or give another one of those salutes to Buddy Ryan and the Philadelphia Eagles. They came from behind. They were down 16-0 to the Houston Oilers. A tough bunch, but it was a costly win. Mike Quick, on this pass, broke his left leg, and he is out for at least 8 weeks. But after that, with Randall Cunningham watching as his teammate was taken off the field, Vince Garrity came in. He replaced Quick, and Cunningham, one of the most exciting players in the league, threw this touchdown pass of 16 yards to put the Eagles ahead to stay. Irv, I'm just shocked that the injury was that serious.
You wouldn't think he would have hurt himself. Quick, we're talking about, who came down after catching that pass, made a great catch with his right hand, and came down on his left leg with a lot of weight. But what happens, Brent, when you have these rubber-soled shoes on AstroTurf, you hit the turf and everything comes to a sudden stop. Something has to give, and it happened to be his leg.
Something had to give today in Pittsburgh, and it was the Steeler offense. They turned it over 5 times in the second half. Here comes the key play here. With Bubby Brister out because of an injury, Steve Bono quarterbacking, and Brian Washington, the rookie, picks it off and goes 75 yards for the touchdown. Browns win it, and now they move to 3-2, and they need every win they can squeeze out to put pressure on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Chicago Bears in Soldier Field, 24-3 over the Buffalo Bills. You know, Bruce Smith returned today for the Bills, right? Made a big play, and he celebrates, but his tummy's not in shape after the month off. Coach, I'm hurt. And Marv Levy, he says, I can't believe it. We're going to have a stomach drill for these guys now. Well, Bruce was embarrassed, but he came back into the game. Then the whole Bill defense was embarrassed here on this reverse. Watch Dennis Gentry. Great block by Mad Max Jim McMahon. 58 yards, touchdown for Chicago. There was a terribly unfortunate moment, and everyone in Buffalo had to hold their breath. Shane Conlon went down on a block by Dennis McKinnon, and Conlon had to be taken off the field, and there were early reports that it was a broken leg and everything else. And Dick Butkus, what about the block by McKinnon? Was it legal?
Well, it was legal. There was no flag thrown, Brent, and that's a nightmare for linebackers when what we call a peel back block by an outside receiver. And if you can see this isolated shot here, if it was, see, Dennis McKinnon is in front of Shane Conlon. To be a clip, he would have had to hit him from behind. And right there, he hits him, and he makes the block. And fortunately for Shane, he's going to be all right. He'll be sore, but he should come out all right.
Yeah, it was great that nothing was broken. Dick, down in Tampa Bay, the Battle of the Bays, the Bucks won at Igwe Bike with 8 seconds to go, kicks a 44-yarder, 27-24. New England, Indianapolis. Great moment for Doug Flutie. This is the play of his life as far as the NFL is concerned, folks. An interception had allowed the Colts to move ahead. Bootleg it in there, Doug, and he's got it 21-17. The Patriots with a win over there. Seattle, they win again down in Atlanta. Chris Miller out because of an injury. Kurt Warner here on a 12-yard scoring burst. This puts Seattle up, and they led it. And really, Atlanta showed some true grit, but they just couldn't get back without their quarterback. Let's send you back to the stadium now in the game you're enjoying on CBS.
And we're back at Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami, where the Miami Dolphins, 1-3 on the year, lead the 3-1 Minnesota Vikings by a score of 17-0. Dick Stockton along with Dan Fouts. Well, if you're the Vikings now and you got Tommy Kramer and that great offense, what about that second half? How do they get back in?
Well, they've got to play better football, number one. They're not giving Tommy the type of protection he needs. They've got to get Darren Nelson more involved in the ball game. And also Anthony Carter. Anthony Carter, they seem to only want to use when they most need him, but he's a guy that can play on every down.
And the Miami defense, we talk about what the Vikings aren't doing, but Miami's defense seems to be beating Minnesota's to the punch.
Well, they've now gone 21 quarters without allowing a touchdown pass. They bend, then they block a field goal, and then they make an interception on the goal line.
They got very close, Dan, to break that string, because this was the interception. It looked like the Vikings were going in. Mike Brown picked it off.
He just does an outstanding job of keeping his wits about himself. He thought this ball was complete. Then he sees the ball pop up in the air, almost right up into his face mask. He makes the grab for the interception.
And that was the second interception of the ball game. Offerdahl had picked one off earlier, and the Dolphins scored on Minnesota. And CBS Sports coverage of NFL football will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? United Airlines, rededicated to giving you the service you deserve. Come fly the friendly skies. And by Duracell, the copper top battery. It now lasts 30% longer.
17-0 is our score. The Miami Dolphins are leading the Minnesota Vikings, who have won 3 straight games. We're at halftime. And Don Shula, the head man, has his son David Shula as the offensive coordinator calling in plays, but Miami has outpassed the Vikings 223 to 110. They haven't had much of a running game, but they're throwing. And of course, there have been a lot of reports that maybe Dan Marino doesn't agree with David Shula's play calling.
Well, the one thing that everybody can agree about at this time is the fact that everything's going pretty good for them. There's David Shula, 17-0. The one thing that the Dolphins had to do coming into this game is you heard a lot of talk about, well, we're 1-3. We really should be 3-1. They were doing too much talking about the standings, really, Dick. They should be concerned more with just winning this one game. This is really a must-win for the Dolphins. They have to get by Minnesota in order to get back in the race. Buffalo loses today. That's got to give him a little bit of lift. This man's playing great football right now. His receivers are making the big catch. He is the strength of this football team. He is the natural leader. He is the guy they all look to, and he's delivering so far in this game.
Halftime statistics. There you see they favor the Dolphins in a big way. Neither club has rushed that much, and in time of possession, Miami has had the ball for a little over 19 minutes to just under 11 for Minnesota. Water Bay is kicking off, and we're underway in the second half. Darrell Harris is back for the Vikings on the 6th. Harris scoots his way to the 32-yard line. Jeff Cross making the stop. So Tommy Kramer going to work now. Let's look at what Kramer and Marino have done. Well, Marino's going to the air a lot more. Kramer with 2 interceptions. And the one that really hurt was the one picked off by Mark Brown.
Very difficult for a team to overcome an interception in the end zone or when you're down in the positive end of the field. We'll see how the Vikings come out to start the second half.
Allen Rice and Alfred Anderson start out, so Darren Nelson, who was their leading rusher with 15 yards, starts the second half on the bench. Rice, good hole off the right side, and Rice gets up to the 40-yard line. Misses a first down by about a yard. Rick Graff and Renee Thompson making the stop. Rice gone over 100 yards in rushing and receiving the last 2 games in relief of Nelson, who's been hurt.
One of the bonuses for the Vikings offensive attack, especially their ground attack, is they hope to get DJ Dozier back in the very near future. Also, Darren Nelson shown that he's healthy again. And with Rice and Anderson, they've got a lot of nice types of backs in there that can really get their ground game going again.
Dozier is eligible to come off injured reserve this week for the Vikings. Second down and 1 at the 40. Penny with penalty markers flying. Tim Irwin, the right tackle.
False start. number 76, offense, second down.
And that's a big change from 2nd and 1 to 2nd and 6 now, and that gives the Dolphin defense a life here.
There's number 76 at the left of the screen. A little flinch there. You know, sometimes when a guy's moving in motion behind you, it disrupts your concentration as far as the down linemen are concerned. Irwin also injured himself a little bit on the play.
And Todd Kalis, a rookie from Arizona State, replaces him at tackle. So 2 rookies from Arizona State are now on the offensive line for the Vikings. 2nd and 6. Kramer. Incomplete. Anthony Carter was the intended receiver, if you want to call it that, as the ball kind of bounced in front with hands all over the place. Let's see this.
Tommy's looking right into the sun, and I'm not too sure he can really see exactly what is happening in that secondary. One thing he can see, though, is this guy hitting him. See it and feel it. Big hit there.
Jackie Klein, number 98, who's the backup nose tackle. 3rd down and 6. Jim Gustafson goes wide to the right. 4 wide receivers, including Hassan Jones, who hasn't caught a pass today, coming back from a toe injury. Kramer steps up, and it's incomplete, and a big pressure that time. Rick Raff was in there. Rick Raff, who blocked a Nelson field goal attempt earlier.
Tommy wants to set up a little screen out to the right, and the Dolphins do a fine job of sniffing it out. The back cuts back over the middle, and there's just a big crowd of trying to throw the ball into.
It is 4th down, and Bucky Scribner will kick from the 20. Scott Schwades goes back for the Dolphins, joined by Jarvis Williams. Williams closest to you. End-over-end kick, and Schwades at the 27 returns. Schwades down the sideline with a fine return, gets into Viking territory. And that should spark Miami's offense. Mike Mularkey making the stop, but not before Scott Schwades returns the punt 25 yards and gives Miami good field position.
Low punt by Scribner, and the Dolphins get their picket line set up very nicely on the left side here. This will get Schwades out of Shula's doghouse. Remember, Schwades misplayed the punt earlier in the game where he let it roll out of bounds on the 2-yard line. This time he atones for that mistake with a nice return.
25 yards. And now the Dolphins have it 1st and 10 in the Minnesota territory on the 48. Marino's pass is caught by Duper out of bounds. Picked up about 6 yards that time. Holt was covering on the play.
Isaac Holt started out the game playing a lot of bump and run against Duper and Clayton, and then he got that shoulder injury, and I just wonder if his shoulder is bothering to the point that he can't really get his hands on Duper or Clayton, and he doesn't feel very comfortable doing it. And also his towel won't even stay in his pants. He's having a rough day.
It'll be 2nd and 4 at the 42. Lorenzo Hampton and Troy Stratford alternating at running back. Hampton in there now, and he gets the call and gets back to the line of scrimmage. Tim Newton and Keith Millard are there to make the stop, and that'll bring up 3rd down.
Let's get down there with Keith Millard right now. He's going against the rookie Harry Galbraith, and he just gets that great penetration right now. Ronnie Lee is a little late coming over to get him, and as the back cuts back to him, he's there to make the tackle. Nice play also by Tim Newton.
Millard with 4 sacks last week. He fumed when Too Tall Jones of Dallas was the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. 3rd and 4 at the 42. 4 wide receivers for Marino, and he can't hit Banks on the sideline pattern. Holt was covering, and so Miami's first foray on offense in the 2nd half goes for naught, and Reggie Roby will come in to kick it away for the Dolphins.
Dan's a little upset. You got to remember that Banks has just joined the team this week, just activated for this game, and you got to believe that his timing is a little bit off. Look at those eyes. He's wondering what the heck is going on.
Roby kicking, and Leo Lewis goes back for the Vikings. Another high, fine kick will sail into the end zone for a touchback. The Miami kickers, both Revays and Roby, have kicked the ball into the end zone virtually every time today.
Number 1, Miami battles Cardinals 5th-ranked Notre Dame in 2 weeks on CBS Sports.
Dick Stockton and Dan Fouts back at Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami. The Dolphins are up 17-0. Changes on the defense. John Bosa with a groin injury will not be back. Jackie Klein, number 98, replaces him. Langford's been out a while with that knee, and Renee Thompson has been the fixture in the secondary, number 24. First and 10 Vikings on the 20-yard line with 12:24 remaining in the third. Kramer off the fingertips of Jordan, incomplete. Second down, Green and Mark Brown covering on the play. Kramer has now missed his last 5 attempts, including that interception at the end of the half by Mark Brown.
He's not missing by much, though, Dick. This is a second pass to Jordan in the last 2 drives. Has just been off his fingertips, so he's just got to lower his sights a little bit, hone in on that receiver a little bit more, but also his receivers could help out a little bit by making that tough catch.
Second and 10. Carter comes out left. Leo Lewis wide to the right. The first down and is dropped at the 37, but not before a 17-yard pickup with Graff and Offerdahl on the stop.
Good protection for Tommy this time as the Dolphins decide, well, let's just rush 3 men and see if he can throw the ball into the zone. Well, Tommy's looking for Anthony Carter all the way as he comes across, finds the dead area in that zone. Actually, he was underneath the linebackers. Great depth there by Mark Brown and Offerdahl. But Anthony Carter's just too tough for any zone coverage.
He has averaged 4 catches a game, and that's what he's got today. 4 receptions for 93 yards. First and 10, Minnesota on their 36. Alan Rice and Alfred Anderson in the backfield. Kramer wants to throw again. This time Jordan, and it's knocked away as the linebacker, Offerdahl, was downfield a long way to make the play. What a game he's played today.
You won't see many linebackers run with Steve Jordan and make a play on the ball while the ball's in the air. A foot farther in this play is a completion for a huge gain. Here's Jordan crossing the middle. There's Offerdahl right in front of him. Tommy seems to throw it as hard as he can. It loses a little bit of its spiral, but look at the layout here. Fantastic play by John Offerdahl.
Good coverage on the pass attempt. He already has an interception that led to a Miami score. Miami's defense is clamped down impressively. Second and 10. Kramer. And the pass is incomplete. Leo Lewis was hit hard by Renee Thompson. Lewis is a little guy, and Thompson put the hit on him.
One thing that happens to a quarterback when he's not having a lot of success is he starts to try to be too fine with his pass. Lewis has Thompson beat on this play, but Tommy does not throw the ball outside far enough. He lets Thompson come back and make the play on the pass. But what happens is, you know, Tommy's missed a couple just off the fingertips. He's underthrown one. Now he's starting to be his own worst enemy out there.
4 wide receivers on 3rd and 10 Vikings. Kramer, picked off. William Judson. Judson down the sideline to the 15. 5. Crowds going wild here in Miami. A 50-yard return by William Judson on the interception. And the Minnesota Vikings are threatening to blow it open.
Great pressure on Kramer, and he just gives this one up for grabs. No way he can get this one in against a deep zone like that. Judson makes the play, and then it seemed like the Vikings just kind of quit. They expected Hassan Jones maybe to make this tackle right there, but Judson picks up a couple of blockers, and now the Dolphins are in great shape. Here's the isolation. This is zone coverage, folks. Just no holes in it.
And Randall McDaniel made the tackle, and now it is 1st and goal at the 5 for Miami. Marino caught, and let's see, it's out of bounds with Mark Clayton. on the play was Isaac Holt, and that'll bring up second down. Judson's interception was his second of the season.
Talked to Dan on Friday, and he said he wouldn't mind if he throws it 60 times today. He feels this is the best way for his ball club to get winning again. How close can it be? 1 foot. Oh, it's out of bounds. Good call by the referee.
And the Dolphins have more interceptions today than they had up until this game in the season. Bennett and Hampton, the backs on second and goal at the 5. Here's Hampton, and he's in for his second touchdown of the game. Don Shula's got to be one happy coach.
Well, they're calling good plays too, Dick, and you got to give them credit. David Shula knows that the Vikings are looking for the pass. What's the best running play when a team thinks you're going to throw the ball? Well, it's the old draw play. Hampton gets into the end zone for the score.
Well, Jerry Burns said, I hope this isn't the game that the Dolphins explode offensively. They have, and their defense has been terrific. Reveiz with the conversion is good. 10:45 to go in the third quarter. The Miami Dolphins are treating the Vikings like mincemeat. Judson's interception and brilliant 50-yard return set up Hampton's 5-yard run as the Miami Dolphins lead at 24-0 over the Minnesota Vikings. Quad Reveiz kicking off. Deep is Darrell Harris for Minnesota. It's a short kick, and it's Harris at the 5. And he gets out to about the 20-yard line. Jeff Cross making the stop. Well, college football continues on CBS next Saturday. The Oklahoma Sooners take on the Texas Longhorns in their annual clash.
I can't believe Texas hasn't beaten Oklahoma since 1983. There was a tie in '84, but that's a long time for the old Longhorns.
So they got a lot riding on this game, and Oklahoma ranked number 10 coming in. It all begins 2:30 Eastern time. And Tommy Kramer has been taken out, and Rich Gannon, who is inactive for the first 4 games and has thrown only 6 passes in his career, is the new quarterback. Alfred Anderson on the carry. So Jerry Burns doing a very smart thing, I think, here, Dan.
Not many teams can come back from the 24-0 deficit that we have now, unless maybe you're the LA Raiders, who seem to be able to do it. But Tommy has been ineffective, and I think the worst thing for him is to leave him in the ball game and to have him continue to take the beating and continue to not have success, to where maybe it'll affect him in weeks to come down the road.
And maybe get hurt too. He completed only 1 of his last 9 passes, 2 of them into the hands of the Dolphins. Second down and 8 at the 22 for the Vikings. So we'll see what Gannon does. He completes to Fenny out of the backfield. Fenny's got the first down and carries it to the 36-yard line, where Renee Thompson makes the stop. Rich Gannon originally was a number 4 draft pick by the Patriots last year. He was acquired in a trade and was the 7th quarterback drafted that year. Played in 5 games, as we said, and the last time he has been in action was against the Dolphins in preseason.
And the Vikings had a very good game against the Dolphins up there in the Metrodome in the final preseason game. In fact, Don Shula felt they were the best team they played all preseason, and that includes the 49ers, Bears, Broncos, and Skins.
Pretty good competition in preseason. First and 10 at the 36. Gannon to Rice. Rice to the 41. They picked up 5 yards there. Thompson on the stop. I wonder whether Tommy Kramer had anticipated an early shower today.
I bet he's wondering why they didn't call these types of plays when I was in the game. A couple little dump-offs here. They're moving the ball down the field. They're starting to look good. Gannon is an interesting prospect, though. He should add some excitement to this rest of this ball game.
Well, he's a mobile quarterback, and that's a dimension that Kramer doesn't have, but he doesn't have the experience. Anyway, it's 2nd and 5 at the 41. Gannon in trouble. There's his ability to run, and he'll be short of a first down as he is stopped a yard or so away. Jackie Klein, actually, Gannon took himself out of the play, and that'll make up a 3rd and about 1 or 2.
I went to an expert yesterday and asked him who Rich Gannon reminded him of, and that expert was Anthony Carter. He said that Gannon is very much like Wade Wilson in his mobility and his strong throwing arm, and you can see it on that play right there.
Ball at 3rd down and 2 at the 44 of Minnesota. Anderson. And his second effort, I think, has the first down. Good hustling, running by Anderson, Judson, and Thompson. I believe Minnesota has it.
You know, sometimes they ought to give the guy an extra yard or 2 for second effort, because he deserves it. He gets the first down anyway. Fine run here. He gets stuck right in the hole by Offerdahl, but he breaks that tackle, and then he breaks the second tackle by Thompson.
First down, Minnesota on their 46, 7:45 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Gannon fires, overthrows Carter, and Judson nearly had another interception. It was just too far behind him. Make it Hobley.
Here's Carter on the isolation here with Judson, but this again is a deep zone coverage. Watch Judson. He's just covering an area of the field. Once Carter cuts inside, he belongs to somebody else. And look at Carter. He doesn't want anything to do with that ball. That ball may put him in the hospital tomorrow.
Hobley on the hit and Judson defending. It'll be 2nd down and 10. Gannon, Leo Lewis has the first down and goes out of bounds at the 42-yard line. So Minnesota in Miami territory. We're at Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami. Who are we? Well, we're CBS Sports, Dick Stockton and Dan Fouts. We're at Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami, where the Dolphins lead the Minnesota Vikings 24-0 in a game in which Miami's defense has dominated. 3 interceptions.
Would it be trite to say that the Dolphins or the Vikings have got to score in a big hurry?
That would be a good guess, but still the 3rd quarter, there is a lot of time. Gannon diving incomplete was Carter for the pass. So you saw the graphic where the Dolphins today have scored 14 points off 3 turnovers by the Minnesota Vikings. The Phoenix Cardinals now lead the Rams 24-14. What a bad day it is for unbeaten teams, except for maybe Cincinnati. They lead the Raiders 31-7. Rams were unbeaten, and the Cardinals trying to get back in that NFC Eastern race. Other scores in action of games starting late. 2nd down and 10 at the Miami 42. Darren Nelson is back in there. Gannon. Gustafson was downfield. The pass was short, and good pressure put on by T.J. Turner of the Dolphins.
Good pressure, like you said, Dick. Gannon has impressed me so far as standing in the pocket and trying to get the ball off. He doesn't see this man coming, T.J. Turner, from the outside there, or that play may have been complete.
We have had no sacks in the ball game. A far cry from what both the Dolphins and Vikings achieved defensively last week. 3rd down and 10 on the Miami 42. Gannon getting rushed. And we'll have a penalty marker. Todd Kalis, who went into right tackle for Tim Irwin when he was shaken up, might have moved. Let's wait for Jerry Markbright's call.
Ball start, number 69, offense, 3rd down.
Watch Hugh Green, number 55, fake like he's coming on the blitz. That's Raina Thompson there, and just a little bit of nervousness by the rookie Kalis, and he cost his team 5 yards. Now instead of 3rd and 10, now it's 3rd and 15. Not a lot of plays in the playbook that'll pick up 15 yards for you.
You talk about the problems with the Miami offensive line, but Kalis and Randall McDaniel, both top draft picks out of Arizona State, 2 rookies, and a center who's starting his first game today, and Chris Foot. 3rd and 15. Gannon in trouble. And here's Alfred Anderson with a blocker in front. Dives for the 6 and may have the first down. Don McNeil, the extra back, makes the play. And it is a first down for the Minnesota Vikings, a gain of 16. Good running by Anderson.
Not many times will you get 15 or 16 yards out of a screen play, but this is really well designed and well executed. Gannon shows his ability there, but there is a penalty flag down, and this baby may be coming back.
The Vikings are moving back into their own territory, so it apparently is against Minnesota.
The eligible receiver downfield on the pass, number 62, offense. It's still third down.
That was Chris Foote, the center.
Well, one of the things we talked about at the beginning of the day, Dick, was Jerry Burns' concern about his depth. Well, you never know about the players on the sidelines until you get them into the game and get them in a situation where they've got to perform. Right now, the front line of the Vikings, that offensive line, is in real trouble. They're not playing very well. Their youngsters are making mistakes. And what happens now is we've got, what, third down and about 20? This will also, I believe, will be loss of down.
That's right. An eligible receiver downfield is a loss of down, so that would be fourth down, I believe. There's the penalty story thus far in what has been a frustrating afternoon for Jerry Burns, who's beginning to feel very good about his team.
Well, it's not loss of down. I'll take that mistake. But now it's third and 25. I do know that.
Vikings have to get to the Miami 33. And the first sack of the game, Eric Kummerow. A loss of 12 yards that time.
Well, they went from having a first down on about the plus 30-yard line to now having to punt from the minus 30-yard line. Kummerow with good pressure. Actually, everybody's got good pressure. T.J. Turner forces him over there to Kummerow, and he makes the big play.
He's the #1 pick out of Ohio State. And Bucky Scribner will be kicking, and back deep, Scott Swades and Jarvis Williams for the Dolphins. 6:45 remaining in the third quarter. Swades will call for the fair catch at the 24. Well, who would have thunk it that the Miami Dolphins at 1-3 would come in, teach a lesson to the Vikes. It's been a Miami day weather-wise and on the scoreboard. 24-0 the score. And there is
Brian Sauché. He knows how to handle the heat. But you know what? I think that the Minnesota Vikings offensive line may be feeling a little bit more heat because of his play today.
For sure. First and 10, Dolphins on their 25-yard line. Bennett and Hampton, the running backs. Marino. And off the hands of Mark Duper. Carl Lee defending on the play.
Well, obviously, Don Shula doesn't think this is too big a lead. They're not going to sit on it. They're going to keep going after it and keep attacking the Viking defense. One thing that this is good for Marino. This is good for the entire offensive team because they still have been struggling this year. They still need to finish this game off positively and maybe even go down and get some more points.
And they know that Buffalo lost to Chicago. Minnesota will lose their share of the lead in the NFC Central, and Miami will gain a game on Buffalo. Second and 10 on the 25. Here's Troy Stratford. Bounces off a defender, and Stratford gets it out to the 33-yard line. Joey Browner prevented the extra 2 yards in what would have been a first down. Troy Stratford, who had a brilliant rookie season out of Boston College, and we asked him about BC. There are so many good Boston College players that come out of a school that is not really a power.
And he feels that the reason is that those guys try harder. Maybe they're the Avis of the NCAA. They work hard in practice. They play very tough. Anybody that saw that replay of yesterday's game against Pitt knows that they'll never die.
They won that game. Bosa, who went out with injury, another former BC player. Third down and 1, 3 tight ends. Bennett, penalty marker down. We may have holding against Miami. Bennett was stopped short of the first down by Doug Martin. And it is a holding call against the Dolphins. Tough day for the Vikings, you mentioned. They have to sit out there in the humidity and heat down there and take a beating.
You know, they came in flat, and they've gotten even flatter, if you can believe that. But they came off those two great victories against the Bears and against the Eagles. Both were very emotional wins, but both were very physical. And I think that the physical pounding they took has affected them today in the heat and humidity here in Miami.
Meanwhile, the Dolphins people are cool, calm, collected, and poised.
Number 62, offense, penalty declined, 4th down.
Harry Galbraith, the rookie who started in place of Tom Toth, who's on injured reserve. So it'll be 4th down, and Roby will come in and kick. Of course, the Vikings, used to playing in that dome in Minneapolis inside where it's climate controlled. Big change.
Well, this humidity here is really being able to play here and practice here every day like the Dolphins do, really a tremendous advantage for them.
Leo Lewis is back, and Reggie Roby kicking with 5.5 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. Lewis looking for the return on the 21. And the Dolphins cover well on an outstanding play by Jackie Shipp. He's the linebacker who wants to play somewhere else. Four-year veteran Jackie Shipp, who lost his starting role to Mark Brown and said he wanted to be traded, hustling anyway.
Well, you've got to hustle at all times, because if you want to get traded, you've got to impress somebody. He may end up in Minnesota because of the play he just made there.
Vikings 1st and 10 on the 25. Rice and Anderson the setback. Rich Gannon in relief of Tommy Kramer, trying to go deep to Carter, and it's out of bounds. Judson covering on the play. What kind of impressions did you get yesterday? I'll ask you after this replay.
Well, this poor young man is learning about pressure in the pocket here. That's a bit of a late hit there that's not called by the referee, but this play was not going to get anything anyway. It was the old hook and go pattern, and Judson had the play well covered.
The errors by the Minnesota Vikings, 14 points by Miami as a result. 2nd and 10 on the 25 with 5:09 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Darren Nelson is in there. Anderson in motion. Gannon has Nelson, who can't hold on. Your impression, Tommy Kramer, in asking him to assess the Miami defense yesterday at our meeting?
Well, Tommy wasn't too concerned with the defense. He thought that, sure, they hadn't given up any touchdown passes. He also felt that that was a misleading stat. He had seen teams move the ball against them. He had seen some success, and believe me, he wasn't that concerned. He felt that his offensive team, coming off those two big victories, was going to play well again today.
Well, he found a defense that was a lot tougher than maybe he expected. 3rd and 10. Gannon is 3 for 8 for 31 yards. That's more passes today than he's thrown in his career. Gannon looking for Gustafson. He's got it. And a 1st down at the 42-yard line. Big play. The man he beat was William Judson, with Bud Brown also defending, and that's good for 33 yards.
This is a wonderful catch. These are the fellows on the other side of the field who are being just smothered by the Dolphin secondary. Gustafson beats double coverage here as the ball is sailing by, and he did a nice job on the toe tap on the sidelines, and now the fans just saw it on the replay, and they're not buying any bit of it.
Well, they're going to take a look. George Slatke is the replay official. Don Weiss, the communicator. Here's another look.
And they're looking at this replay right now, as we are. Fine coverage. There's 1 foot in, and there's a foot out, folks. If they're looking at that replay, they got to bring it back. That's an incompletion.
Judson already with a big interception and a 50-yard return. That set up the only score in this 3rd quarter.
Now, I'm sure they're looking at that play from another angle, but from that one angle we just saw, that is conclusive evidence that that was an incomplete pass.
Let's see if this is more or less conclusive.
I wish the NFL would come up with a better word than conclusive or inconclusive. I'm starting to sound like a lawyer here.
All right, this is our end zone picture blown up. See for a better view. Well, the crowd tells you the result of that replay look. They'll bring it back. So the 33-yard pass is crossed off the boards. And it'll be 4th down for the Vikings. And they will have to kick it away.
Did you notice the two guys that were watching the wrestling are watching the game now? The Dolphins are up 24-0.
Scribner will be kicking. Schwades and Jarvis Williams are back. 4:56 remaining in the 3rd quarter. We had a scoreless first quarter today. The Dolphins led 17-0 at the half, and they have added a touchdown here in the 3rd quarter. Vikings' only loss prior to today was to Buffalo in the opening game, another AFC Eastern Division club. Scribner with a good kick, then Schwades back to the 27. Penalty marker down, and so is Schwades back to the 25. Ray Berry on the play. That kick went 48 yards. And we'll see what the penalty is. Now another one has been thrown in just now.
Illegal blocked. Number 50 on the run back. First down. First down.
Jackie Shipp. So it'll be 1st down Dolphins. Let's see if we can pick it up.
There he is on the left side. He's blocking against another number 50, it looks like, and he's going to clip him right in the back, and that's illegal. Hustling all the way, though. Ray Berry is the guy he knocked down.
So Miami will start from their 19-yard line, leading 24-0 with 4:45 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Bradford alone setback. Davenport is on the right wing. Marino has Davenport, and he gets to about the 23. David Howard, the linebacker, on the stop.
The Dolphins are not going away from their original game plan, even with a 24-0 lead here. They started out the game throwing the ball on 1st down. Last 2 possessions that Marino has had, he's put it up in the air on both the 1st down tries.
Last time these teams met, 1982 at the Orange Bowl. The Minnesota Vikings, with Tommy Kramer at the helm, won that game. But at home against NFC Central Division teams, the Miami Dolphins are a rousing 9-1. 2nd down 7 at the 22. Viking defense. Here's Davenport. Good blocking. And Ron Davenport close to 1st down yardage. Jesse Solomon brings him down. There's the time remaining in the 3rd quarter. Jesse Solomon.
You know, we talked to him yesterday, Dick, and he is really an all-around linebacker. He would like to get more publicity, but he feels that the publicity always goes to the outside linebackers like Lawrence Taylor that make the sacks, and not the guys that drop back into pass coverage and make the interceptions. Solomon has 1 interception today. He's looking for a lot of recognition, and he's got to get some sacks to get it.
And if he picks up some more balls, then he'll get it the other way. 1st and 10 at the 29. Marino drills it, and it's caught by Mark Duper. He's got the 1st down and out of bounds at the 42. Carl Lee defending on the play. 13-yard pickup.
One thing I love about watching Dan Marino throw the ball is the way he bounces around in the pocket. He's getting good protection this time, but he never really seems to set his feet. He can throw off balance. He can just whip that ball out there. He reminds me, and I know this may be reaching a little bit, but of Muhammad Ali, kind of just bouncing around his feet and snapping that jab out there and that right-hand cross. Yeah, I watched a lot of boxing during the Olympics.
I guess so. And watch some of those decisions, too. First and 10, 42-yard line for the Dolphins. Winding down the 3 minutes to go in the third. Going deep, Marino, and he overthrows Mark Duper. Carl Lee was covering on the play. Well, Marino's got to feel better about himself in the offense than when you talked to him on Friday, when it looked like he was kind of keeping a lot of things inside.
Well, the one thing that he has done extremely well today is what we're looking at right here, the distribution. The big thing about this is, though, that the two guys, the wide receivers, Clayton and Duper, are getting most of these balls, and they're producing. They're making the big catch when it needs to be made, and they're making the run with the ball afterwards, even stretching to get the first down. Everything's working so far for the Miami pass offense today.
Duper's caught 5, Clayton 3. Second and 10. Hampton dives forward to the 47-yard line. Jesse Solomon again on the stop. Checking scores on the CBS Sports Wire. The Phoenix Cardinals on the road leading the Rams 27-14. Lomax with a couple of scores. Cincinnati looks like they're going to be 5-0 after today. And the Jets at 4-1 if they can hold on to their fourth quarter lead over Kansas City.
And that'll move the Jets into a tie with Buffalo for the lead in this AFC East.
San Diego coming back down to earth a little bit. And the 49ers in a very tight NFC West battle with both the Rams and the Saints. 3rd and 5 at the 47. In Marino's kind of day. Pass incomplete. Intended for Duper. Jesse Solomon again on the play. He's having a busy day. And let's check some of the final scores from earlier in the day. Giants over Washington, and you watch the rest. Reggie Roby will kick on 4th down. Leo Lewis goes back for the Vikings. Roby has kicked beautifully today. Takes a Miami hop, but the Dolphins can't keep it in play. Rodney Thomas tried to keep it going, and a penalty marker is down. It went into the end zone for a touchback, but there's a flag down around midfield. That was a 53-yard kick.
Roby came into the game not kicking that well. This will be a legal procedure against the Dolphins, but Roby came in as the 9th rated punter in the AFC with just a 40.7 average. He's going to up that a bit today.
Well, he's going to have to re-kick this.
And I'm not sure that's a good decision to re-kick this. I think I'd rather have the ball on the 20-yard line. We've got to get some points if...
Sure, the Vikings will take it on the 20, I believe. Gannon's coming on the field.
Yeah, they got to get the ball down the field and in the end zone, or this baby, they're in real trouble.
Illegal motion. Number 29, kicking team. Penalty decline. First down.
Lippert hobbling.
20-yard line.
And declined by Jerry Burns. The Vikings will have it on the 20-yard line. 1st and 10. A minute and 50 seconds remaining in the third quarter. Miami's defense, they allowed 347 yards a game today, under 200 yards. Alan Rice on 1st down, looking for that hole that didn't materialize. His forward progress will give him a couple of yards, however, and Brian Sauché gets credit for the stop.
Tom Olivadotti, the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins yesterday, he said that we're a pursuing type of defense. We play our assignments extremely well, and we're stingy as far as moving the ball in big chunks and getting it down the field. They're playing their best game of the year right now.
And they played a few good ones. Former Cleveland Brown assistant.
And this is the best offense they've seen all year in the Minnesota Vikings.
2nd and 8. Gannon. He's got Gustafson. And Gustafson has the first down and out of bounds at the 38. William Judson covering. A gain of 16 yards.
This is 2 passes to Gustafson now in a row, and makes me wonder where Anthony Carter is. And I'm sure his relatives are wondering how he's doing too.
All 38.
They'd sure like to see him out there playing, but maybe Coach Burns feels that this one's out of control, and there's just no way. There's on the sidelines. He looks okay, but I'm sure he's disappointed in the way things have turned out today.
He is all right. That's the word. He's caught 4 passes today, but they're going with some different people. First and 10 at the 38, Minnesota. Diving, incomplete, Leo Lewis. Renee Thompson defending on the play. And I've got to admire the Miami defense because, you know, a lot of teams go into that prevent kind of early, and they're not playing it that way right now.
No, both offensively and defensively, they're sticking to their game plan. And one thing they talked about earlier in the week when I asked them, you know, what do you concentrate when you play in the Vikings? Well, they got Anthony Carter, they got Steve Jordan, they got Darren Nelson, a lot of guys to worry about. But the main guy that if we can be effective, we've got to put pressure on Kramer. That may throw off the entire Viking offense.
Second and 10 at the 38 now, and the Vikings. There's pressure, Brown, and Turner, and the pass is caught, and Alfred Anderson bobbled it and held on, and that'll be another Viking first down. A 17-yard gain that time to the 44 of Miami. Clifford Hobley making the stop.
This is the added dimension that Gannon gives the Viking offense, the ability to escape pressure. Mark Brown right up the gut, chases him out of the pocket, but he's a good enough athlete to be able to throw this ball for the completion, and Anderson did a fine job of finding a little area on the field and coming up with the grab.
I remember a game a few years ago. The Vikings were in Philadelphia, trailing 23-0 with 7 minutes to go in the game. Wade Wilson came in, and the Vikings beat the Eagles 28-23. Anything can happen. First and 10 at the 44, but they got a long way to go. Gannon, wide open. Gustafson has another first down at the 26-yard line, and that'll be the last play of the third quarter. And that's the end of the third quarter with the score. The Miami Dolphins 24, the Minnesota Vikings nothing. We now pause for a word from your local station.
This is CBS. CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Coors Light. There's no slowing down with a silver bullet. It's the right beer now. U.S. Armed Forces, it's a great place to start. And by Mitsubishi Motors, who invite you to come see the full line of cars and trucks. Mitsubishi, suddenly the obvious choice.
Minnesota Vikings with a first down on the 25-yard line of Miami as we start the fourth quarter. Gannon loses a couple. Offerdahl and T.J. Turner prevented any kind of a gain by Gannon. We're at Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami, where the fans have been treated to the best game that the Miami Dolphins have played in at least these 4 of the regular season coming in, and maybe last year as well. They lead 24-0 with that much time remaining.
They really needed to win this ball game too. Looks pretty good for them at this point. 24-0, heck.
That is big, and if the defense keeps playing the way they're playing, they don't have to worry about a thing. Second down and 13. Loss of 3 that time. Gannon up the middle, and he's got Gustafson, who's hit hard by Offerdahl. He has been all over the field today and has had a sizzling game for the Dolphins. Gustafson is slow getting up.
Right now he's trying to figure out who's going to answer that phone that's ringing in his head. This is the reason why Anthony Carter's not in the game, folks. He took a look at that game plan and saw that it called for one across the middle right where Offerdahl was. Boy, Offerdahl just unloaded.
Offerdahl has an interception. Score resulted. Judson with an interception, and a score resulted. Let's hear how hard that crunch was. We'll stay out, and you listen to the crowd and the hit on the field. Ooh. You feel that up here? Be honest.
Unfortunately, it did bring back a faint memory or two. What a hitter Offerdahl is.
Gustafson is all right. He leaves the game.
He'll be all right on Wednesday. He's got a headache right now.
Hassan Jones will come into the ball game, and Offerdahl has 6 tackles and 1 interception. And right now, you know, in the interest of realistic television, I'd like to show you fans what it's like to hit Mr. Fouts and what it's like to take a hit, but I don't think I'm going to do that now.
I wish I had a baseball bat that I could that I could show you, but there's just no way to describe that feeling. It's like all of a sudden the lights go out, you're out there, and the phone's ringing. You can't understand who's calling you.
I told you to get an unlisted number. Gustafson is all right.
Little smelling salts. Yeah, boy.
3rd down and 8. Crowd on its feet. This is where the Miami defense have come up big all day. Penalty marker down. Gannon will run it short of a 1st down, and Mark Brown clobbered him. Those inside linebackers have been like artillery tanks, but there's a flag down. Jerry Markbright, and it looks to be against the Vikings. Illegal procedure.
You know, that stat as far as consecutive quarters without a touchdown pass is starting to really get a little bit more important.
Motion foul, number 84, offense, 3rd down.
Hassan Jones left a little early.
It's really starting to show me a little bit about this defense. They have pride in the fact that, hey, listen, we're capable of winning ball games now. We're good enough to carry this football team. And I tell you one thing, they're very concerned not giving up a touchdown pass at this time.
These are the games next Sunday on CBS. Begins with the NFL today. Washington, Dallas, Chicago, Detroit, Tampa Bay, Minnesota. 3rd and 13. Gannon on 3rd down overthrows the world, including Hassan Jones, the intended receiver, and that'll bring up 4th down. Vikings will go for it on 4th and 13. Trailing by 24 points. There's Tommy Kramer, who didn't get sacked except for once today, but experienced a lot of pressure and was largely off the mark.
You know, with Gustafson out now and Carter's out, the Vikings will just go with 2 wide receivers. This really is handicapping their offensive plan.
Vikings are perfect on 4th downs this year. Until now, as Gannon is stopped short, and he is shaken up. Jarvis Williams hit him a lick. They put quite a block on Offerdahl, who is chasing him as well. You're shaking your head up here.
Well, it's just unfortunate this boy is hurt, and he'll learn by experience that there's no way you're going to pick up 12 yards in the National Football League trying to run the ball. You've got to find some way of finding a receiver open down there, because I don't care how fast or how strong you are as a quarterback, there's just too many good people playing on defense that are going to make you pay for it. Great hit there on Offerdahl by Randall McDaniel.
And Minnesota will get the ball back on downs when we come back with Gannon hurt. It's been a total domination by the Miami Dolphins, 24-0. Did Minnesota have any kind of a shot early in the game, or do you think Miami just had it from the start?
Well, I think that Miami wanted it more. They needed it more. Minnesota just came out flat. They continue to play poorly. And the one thing that Mark Brown told us yesterday was that his defense sets goals for themselves. As far as turnovers are concerned, well, one of the goals were 3 turnovers. They got those 3 today. It looks like they're going to get the W, which is most important.
1st and 10 at the 17, and the pass. Darrell Edmonds has it. He'll have a 1st down. Penalty marker down as well. Chris Martin on the stop. Picked up 12 that time.
The fans really get excited when they see old Farrell with the ball in his hands. He is a huge tight end, and one that has got surprising speed for a man 6'6" and about 245.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 39, defense.
Harley.
After the runner is down. 1st down.
It'll be 1st down, and they'll mark off 15 yards up to the 43. The other goals, besides the 3 turnovers which they achieved, They wanted to hold the Vikings to under 14 points. So far, they've done that. And they wanted them to average only 4 yards a play. So 2 out of 3 and maybe 3 out of 3. Not bad at all. We'll check on the other one for you.
That big shutout's a big one, too. Big stat there.
1st and 10 at the 43. Gannon hurt his left knee. That's the report. Here's Davenport for Miami. And he picks up 4 or 5 yards. Right now, for an NFL Today report, let's check in with Brent Musburger in New York. Brent?
Well, Dick, here's the status of the Los Angeles Rams. They have closed to within 7 points, almost the entire 4th quarter remaining. This was the touchdown pass. Damone Johnson catching it from Jim Everett. But they blew the extra point. It's 27-20 now. Let's go back to Dick and Dan.
All right, Brent, so the Rams trying to win, and New Orleans plays Dallas tomorrow, and the 49ers leading. That's a very tight race. Some say the best race going. Of course, the East is not too shabby either. 2nd and 6 for the Dolphins. They're on their own 47. Good toss. Caught by Mark Cooper. CBS Sports coverage of NFL football will continue after this message and a word from... First down for the Miami Dolphins on the Minnesota 46. Motion is Clayton. And Troy Stratford. Penalty marker down. Stratford will have a first down. Another one goes flying. John Harris making the stop. It would be a Miami first down at the Minnesota 31 pending the call.
Well, I think we all know this one's coming back, Dick. Thrown right at the point of attack. Stratford
we have 2 holding fouls against Miami. Number 62 holding, number 80 holding. We're going to decline number 62. We're going to accept number 80. It'll be first down.
2 rookies were holding. Galbraith, the right guard, and Edmonds, the tight end. Hugh Green, the veteran linebacker, being worked on the sideline. Well, this is what we wanted to tell you. His left arm is encased. What is that?
That could be a fractured arm. That is a portable cast, and that could be nothing but bad news for Hugh Green and the Miami Dolphins.
Well, in just a few minutes, we'll be switching many of you to Los Angeles, where the Rams are battling the Phoenix Cardinals right now. Tim Ryan and Dan Jiggerts are there. In the 4th quarter, it's Phoenix 27, the LA Rams 20. Here in Miami, the score, Dolphins 24 and the Vikings nothing. Dolphins' last shutout was last October against Kansas City in a replacement game. Stratford drops the pass from Marino on 1st and 20. Now it's 2nd down. Hugh Green is going to go to the locker room. That's a tough blow because he has had to battle injuries for so many years and has been one of the great backers.
Yeah, it appears that he has a fracture of his left wrist, and he has had his best year since his knee injury. Since he's come over to the Dolphins, he's been very impressive. The coaches have just loved the way he's been working and leading this defense. Been a very important part of the turnaround for the Dolphin defense this year.
And they're going to x-ray that arm now. There's the quarterback story. Marino, 264 yards. Minnesota quarterbacks have thrown 3 interceptions, all of them by Kramer. Marino on the run, and an interception by Carl Lee of the Vikings, and he's down at the 44. Mark Clayton makes the stop, so Dan Marino, with his 2nd interception toss, not very pleased with that.
Well, he's had a wonderful day so far. He started off with an interception, and now it looks like he might end his day with an interception. I wouldn't be surprised if Shula doesn't take him out at this point of the game if the Vikings do not score and put in Jaworski, just so that they don't risk further injury to their star quarterback.
Speaking of star quarterbacks, Tommy Kramer forced to come back in the game because of the knee injury to Rich Gannon as Marino goes to the sideline. First down at the 45. Kramer dumps it up for Alfred Anderson. Anderson has the first down and gets into Miami territory to the 45-yard line. Hobley and Brown on the stop, a pickup of 11. We want to remind you that in just a few minutes, we'll be switching many of you to Tim Ryan and Dan Jiggets in Los Angeles. Actually, Anaheim, where the Rams are battling the Phoenix Cardinals. They're in the fourth quarter right now, and the Cardinals lead the Rams 27-20. As Brent mentioned, the Rams had missed an extra point. Right here, Miami leading Minnesota 24-0. First down, Vikings on a Miami 44. 10 minutes and 45 seconds to go in the fourth quarter. Darrell Harris is now in the backfield, rookie from Arizona State, teaming with Rice. Kramer overthrows Rice. On the day, Kramer has completed 9 of 26 for 137 yards and has thrown 3 interceptions. Not a day he'll remember.
He has had a lot on his mind, too. Look at the sacks and the hurries. 9 balls knocked down, 3 batted away, and those 3 interceptions. It's amazing, though. He has to come back in the game, very similar to what happened last week against the Eagles when Wade Wilson was hurt, when he was on a rollout and scored a touchdown.
Been a total of 77 passes attempted in this game. Second and 10. Kramer gets a rush, and he's got Darrell Harris out of the backfield, and Harris is stopped short of a first down at the 37 by Eric Kumaro.
You can talk about mobile quarterbacks all you want, but I believe that if you're going to play a long time in the NFL, you've got to know where your pocket is. You've got to know where your protection's coming from. And once you get out of that pocket, you're on your own. You're going up against people that are bigger and stronger than you, and you may very well get hurt. I think the Vikings have learned that lesson these last 2 weeks. 2 quarterbacks gotten hurt when they're outside the pocket running around.
3rd and 3 at the 37 of Miami. And Kramer hits Jordan, and Jordan holds on with a first down at the 15. Right now it's 24-0. The Dolphins lead the Vikings, and right now we're going to send you to Brent Musburger in New York. Brent, take it away. And of course, those of you who are in the viewing areas of interest are continuing to watch this game as the Miami Dolphins, after a 1-3 start, putting it all together today against the Minnesota Vikings, leading 24-0. First and 10 at the 15 for the Vikings. Kramer's pass is tipped and intercepted by Mark Brown. And they've done it again. Second interception for Mark Brown. The 4th interception of the game for the Dolphin defense. That's the story today.
We'll take a look at this from the end zone, and like I said earlier, sometimes as a quarterback, you just have unlucky days. This is an interception off a deflected pass up front there by Jackie Klein. Mark Brown has got his wits about himself. That's the old tip drill that coaches like to talk about, and that'll probably keep the tip drill as part of football for another 20 years.
Interception by Mark Brown. His second of the game. Offerdahl has 1. Judson 1. Anthony Carter is getting set to visit with his friends after the game before the Viking plane goes back to the Twin Cities. He caught 4 passes today, but it's been a washout for the Minnesota Vikings. By the way, to report on Hugh Green, he has a sprained wrist.
Well, that's good news, because a fracture, he probably wouldn't have missed any action, but he would have had to play with a cast on his wrist. He may still have a cast or some type of heavy taping on that wrist when he gets back into the action.
This is one of the finest defensive efforts of the season, we're sure.
I think it's important that customers challenge us, because it's key that I can prove to them that what we offer is the best for their business. If you read an ad that says you're going to save 20 or 30% by going to somebody else, and you call me first, then that's the best reaction I'm looking for, because then I can show you how you're not going to save 20 to 30%. And if every customer called AT&T before they did anything, we'd have very few customers going to the competition.
Oktoberfest can be very boring, you know. Pa. Now, it's Coors Light Rocktoberfest. 31 days of rock and roll, parties, and Coors Light, the silver bullet, the beer that won't throw you down. Plus, there's posters of me and the guys at your store. October will never be boring again. Papa.
This is a machine designed to keep you on time. And this is what makes it tick. People. Working together with clock-like precision, each dedicated to keeping you on schedule. Time after time after time. American Airlines, the on-time machine.
8 minutes and 54 seconds remaining in the game. Miami Dolphins with a 24-0 lead and the ball on their own 23. Lorenzo Hampton, who has scored 2 touchdowns today, picks up a few. John Harris on the stop. You mentioned Don Strock, used to be the backup in Miami, and now Ron Jaworski has the honor.
Well, they traded a 37-year-old for a 37-year-old. Jaworski and Strock and myself, Burt Jones, Joe Ferguson, Gary Keithley. We all came into the NFL back in 1973. Doggone it, I want to see an old guy play. Get out there, Jaws.
You'll have to talk to David and Don first.
They won't listen to me, I guarantee you.
2nd down and 6. Davenport carries. It'll be 3rd and a couple. Ray Berry, backup linebacker, making the stop. Most of the regulars are still in the game on both sides of the ball, including Dan Marino. You surprised Marino's still playing?
Well, I really am, and I'm not sure I understand why. With a 24-0 lead, you've got your franchise out there, and as we've seen, anything can happen as far as injuries are concerned. The Vikings lose their quarterback, Rich Gannon, backup quarterback today. They lose a quarterback last week, Wade Wilson. I think everybody in the league knows about quarterbacks that have been hurt all year long, and here probably the best in the game is still out there when the game's a blowout.
3rd and 2 at the 31. We'll get the first down out of bounds. Walker Lee Ashley makes the stop. Darrell Fullington, a rookie from Miami, is also in there, and some of the Vikings backups are in there now. Last shutout 2 years ago by the Chicago Bears, 23-0. That was at Soldier Field in Chicago.
And it was also the 5th week of the season there. You see, it's October 5th, and maybe they have trouble with their biorhythms when it comes to October.
Well, there's the flag signifying the 1973 Super Bowl champions, the Dolphins. They've looked that part today, even though they've got a very young team and are locked in a tough race in the Eastern Division. Davenport, Millard, makes the stop along with Walker Lee Ashley.
This defense has done a great job for the 2nd week in a row. Big thing, though, that they're thinking about right now is, boy, we'd love to have a shutout. They're looking good, 24-0, 7 minutes to go.
There's Renee Thompson and William Judson. He had the most spectacular run, really, a 50-yard return on an interception. So after being held to 2 going into this game, they picked off 4.
Well, now they start to add some meat to those statistics as far as their pass defense is concerned. We talked about the scoreless quarters and everything. Now they can say, yeah, we can pick the ball off, too.
2nd down and 9. Dolphins on their own 38-yard line. And the pitch to Lorenzo Hampton. And Lorenzo Hampton. He's stopped back, a loss of a couple. Tim Newton on the play.
Another reason I'm surprised Marino's in there. All they're doing is handing the ball off to their running backs and running the ball. They're not throwing the ball. Now it's 3rd and long. Will they throw it or will they run it? If you throw it, then you have Dan a little susceptible. There's David Shula on the sidelines.
But this will be the kind of day I don't think anyone will have any complaints. I don't think Jackie Schiff will complain. He wants to be traded. Maybe he'll get his wish, and Marino's got to feel better. The offense moved the ball, but the defense set the tone. 3rd down and 9. Penalty marker down. Marino's pass picked off by Carl Lee. And Lee will run it in for a touchdown. There was a marker down, so let's wait. And it looks to be a penalty against the Dolphins. If that's the case, it'll go as a 48-yard interception, return for a touchdown by Carl Lee.
Illegal motion. On the offense, penalty declined, touchdown.
And there goes the shutout, and that's not the way you want to lose it.
No, especially when your defense is sitting on the bench. Marino just fires this ball. This is a great job by Lee, reaching back and just stripping the ball away from Clayton. Then it's clear sailing to the end zone.
And that is the 11th interception of the season. Make it the 12th for the Minnesota Vikings. And for Lee, this is his second of the game. And he returns this for the score. And it is now 24-7. So there goes the shutout. And Chuck Nelson will try to add the 7th point for Minnesota. And he does, and with 5:33 remaining in the fourth quarter, Jerry Burns' Vikings trail 24-7.
Suddenly, there's a new way of looking at sports sedans. The Mitsubishi Galant. Its design is dynamic and spirited. Unlike Camry or Accord, Galant GS offers the most advanced electronic suspension, available anti-lock braking, and was voted Japan's Car of the Year. But Galant's most significant development isn't just the technology that's gone into it, but the feeling you get out of it. The 1989 Galant.
Mitsubishi, suddenly the obvious choice.
If you think you can handle the big, bold taste of extra gold draft, hang on. This is the full tilt draft real beer drinkers have been thirsty for. And it looks like they aren't gonna let go. Grab hold of an extra gold. It's the biggest taste that's happened to beer since they put it in cans.
On our way back to the stadium, I'm Brent Musburger in New York with a reminder that next Saturday at 2:30 Eastern we'll be in the Cotton Bowl. It's a college football classic. Texas and Oklahoma, and they've been squaring off since 1900. Bevo the Bull will be prowling the sidelines for the rebuilding Longhorns, will be led by Heisman Trophy candidate Eric Metcalf. As for the 10th-ranked Sooners, their high-powered offense revolves around the option skills of quarterback Jamel Holloway. Next Saturday, 2:30 Eastern time. Now let's send you back to the stadium.
So Minnesota has scored, and now they will kick off, and Miami Dolphins have a lot of their receivers anticipating a short kick or an onside kick. Meanwhile, Joe Cribbs is on the left and Jarvis Williams on the right. See what Nelson does here in a 24-7 game and 5:33 remaining.
I got to believe that they're going to kick this one deep and hope, because of the fact that the Dolphins are all up looking for the onside kick, they'll get good coverage down there and pin the Dolphins back deep in their end zone.
Nelson kicks it deep to the 15-yard line. Joe Cribbs brings it out to the 26-yard line. Dan Marino will stay in there. The last two possessions by the Dolphins have ended by Carl Lee's interceptions, and the last one was run back 49 yards for a score.
Really unfortunate for Marino here. He's been battling all these rumors all year long about his relationship with the coach and the assistant coach, and you know, what's wrong with Dan Marino? He's not getting time to throw. His pass protection's breaking down. He's unloading the ball too soon. He seemed to have answered all the questions except for the last couple of plays in this second half here with the two interceptions.
Miami with a first down on the 25. Bennett and Hampton the backs. 24-7 the Dolphins lead. Woody Bennett gets maybe a yard. The whistle had blown. Henry Thomas on the stop for the Minnesota Vikings. So the Chicago Bears are going to assume the lead in the NFC Central Division by a full game over the Vikings. Bennett taking his time getting up.
That's not a good sign for the Dolphins. They're not all that deep in their running back position. In fact, they picked up Joe Cribbs today, or this week, because of that fact. And now their big fullback is hurting out on the field.
Twilight here at Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami, where the Miami Dolphins, who scored the first 24 points of the game, lead the Vikings 24-7 with 5:04 remaining in the fourth quarter. Well, tonight on CBS, tired of reruns? Well, 60 Minutes has a brand new story this week. Tired of John Lennon stories? Wait until you see the one 60 Minutes has with the two Mrs. Lennon. That's tonight on 60 Minutes. That's followed by Murder, She Wrote, and then it's the CBS Sunday movie Cocoon, starring Academy Award winner Don Amici. That's all coming up tonight on CBS. So Bennett is out of there. Davenport and Stratford are the setbacks. 2nd and 9. Much of the crowd has made their way to the exit. Stratford is down at the 25-yard line. It will be 3rd and long. Doug Martin and Ray Berry on the stop. Lorenzo Hampton has scored 2 touchdowns today. 5-yard run and a 1-yard play. Jim Jensen caught a touchdown for the first Dolphins score. Fuad Reves with his longest field goal of the day of the season, 38 yards. Got the scoring underway on the first play or so of the second quarter to give Miami a lead. They've never been headed.
And again, the Dolphins are faced with a 3rd and long situation, obvious passing situation, and we'll see what happens this time.
Woody Bennett back in the game, so apparently he's all right. 3rd and 9. Under 4 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. Here's Hampton going wide, and he's down. Keith Millard to stop, and now, like you mentioned, they had Marino out for one purpose. That is to use the clock and hand off. And with 3:46 to go, Miami will have to kick. And the Minnesota Vikings will use this time to call a timeout. There, look at the Phoenix Cardinals. 41-20 over the Rams. Cincinnati over the Raiders. And, of course, that's the team. Raiders.
Boomer's having a wonderful year so far. We had him in the first game of the season, and he was excited about his team and excited about redeeming the offense of the Bengals and showing people that they got a good football team that last year was a complete fluke. Well, they're showing the Raiders that they're a different team this year.
San Francisco not out of the woods against Detroit, leading 20-13. Leo Lewis goes deep, and Reggie Roby, who has been brilliant kicking today for the Dolphins, will boot it with 3:46 to play. The Vikings have 2 timeouts remaining. They came in to try to block the kick. Holt, who did one last week, penalty marker down, and a fair catch called for by Leo Lewis at the 46-yard line. But there's a flag down at the line of scrimmage. That punt went only 29 yards. Vikings would have good field position right now, and the penalty will be against Miami. Should be declined.
Yeah, they should decline this, get the ball, and let's get rolling. Maybe we'll get into the end zone, and who knows what will happen from there. Great pressure on Roby that time. They came very close to blocking it, something that the Vikings seem to do very, very well. But I tell you what, I think they believe that they can block a punt. They're going to give Roby another try. Field position is important here.
Holding, number 88, offense. Prior to the kick.
Out Brian Kinchin, so they're going to make Roby kick again. Next week on CBS, NFL football with the NFL today at 12:30 Eastern time. It'll be the Redskins and the Cowboys. Redskins lost to the Giants today. The Bears won. They're in first place all by themselves. Detroit still battling the 49ers, and Tampa Bay against the Vikings, who will be licking their chops, I'm sure, after this one. Although with 3:37 to go, down by 17 points, they'll get their hands on the ball again. Vikings storm in, but Roby gets it off, and Leo Lewis has a fair catch on his own 49-yard line. That was a 36-yard kick. So Tommy Kramer will come back on, and the Vikings will get the ball. Final score, the Denver 12-0 over San Diego.
No touchdowns in that game. How many times have you seen the Denver Broncos with John Elway quarterback not score a touchdown?
San Francisco holds on and beats the Detroit Lions 20-13. So they now tie the Rams for first place in the NFC West, with the Saints pending their game with Dallas tomorrow. 1st and 10, Tommy Kramer. Up the middle. It was intended for Leo Lewis, and it was tipped away, incomplete. That'll bring up second down. Clock stopped, 3:24 remaining.
You know, you mentioned that next week the Vikings play Tampa Bay. They really got a break from the schedule maker somewhere along the line, because following that game, they are at home to the Green Bay Packers, and then on the road the following week against Tampa Bay again. So their next 3 games favor the Vikings.
How about 2 of their last 4 games against Detroit and Green Bay? Second and 10. Darrell Harris out of the backfield, but Gustafson holds on. He makes the catch, and he's down at the 5-yard line. Jim Gustafson has made some big plays today for the Vikings. Judson and Brown makes the stop. A big play, and that'll go for 47 yards.
Gustafson is working against Judson, and we've seen a lot of deflections today and a lot of tip balls. Well, watch this one. This is Williams coming over for the interception. Doesn't make it. The ball just seems to suspend in air on Jefferson's shoulder. He makes the grab and almost gets into the end zone.
And it's first and goal at the 4-yard line for the Minnesota Vikings.
I think I'm going to shorten his name to Gus.
He's caught 4 for 89 yards. And flags fly all over the place. Guy doing the somersault in there was Rick Graham. Penalty marker down. We've had a few of them today.
False start, number 83, offense.
Steve Jordan.
Steve Jordan will flinch here, and Kraft just comes flying over the top. Pretty good eyes by the officials to see that little flinch.
2.5 minutes remain, and the Dolphins sending in some replacements. Renee Thompson around a while when they had the Killer Bees.
Well, the Vikings are wasting a lot of time getting this play off. It's already down to 15 seconds. They're still in the huddle. 13 seconds before the 2-minute warning. They could have used to get this one off a lot faster.
And we're winding down with the 2-minute warning. First and goal at the 9. Kramer fires, caught, and he threw a pass not in the end zone, but to the 3-yard line. Brown and Graff makes the catch, and we have our 2-minute warning, and we'll be back.
For those little trips that turn into
15 rolls of any Owens Corning pink insulation now and get your favorite NFL team jacket free.
Today's Duracell batteries are built to last up to 30% longer than the ones we made a few years back. Guaranteeing a long, happy life. Today's Duracell lasts 30% longer.
Oktoberfest can be very boring, you know. Pa. Now, it's Coors Light Rocktoberfest. 31 days of rock and roll, parties, and Coors Light, the silver bullet, the beer that won't slow you down. Plus, there's posters of me and the guys at your store. October will never be boring again. Pa.
The city of Miami, as the sun goes down, they'll have a new professional franchise, the NBA Miami Heat, expansion team that gets underway this year.
Are they going to play outdoors so they can really experience some of this heat?
They hope to be giving off heat eventually in a few years. All right, second and goal at the 2. 3 tight ends, Rice and Anderson in the setback. Malarkey in motion. Tommy Kramer throws it to nobody in the end zone. Jordan, I think, was the man he wanted to go to.
Most definitely, Dick. He really was battling to get off into his pass route, and he didn't quite get it done. Tommy's going to fake a little bootleg here, and he sees that Jordan is tripping right there, number 83, and that's his only receiver. Smart play by Tommy. Good effort by Jordan trying to get up, but he just couldn't get it done.
So it'll be third and goal at the 2, and you're right, the Vikings have taken a lot of time to try to score here. Bootleg, no. Well, he should have. Darrell Harris is stopped.
short of the goal line, and it's 4th and goal. If he had bootlegged the ball, he would have walked it. He faked everybody out, including... Well, I thought he should have bootlegged. But the fact is he didn't. Right? No, and he uses the timeout now. Now they're down to 2 timeouts. You know, they had a chance. If Gustafson gets in the end zone on that long pass, then we've got a finish that something really great could happen for the Vikings. You know, strange things happen, and the Dolphins are a young team. Not that they would have cracked, and we don't know that. But with the onside kick and the breaks of the kind of game, you're right. It looked like the Vikings had a lot of disinterest as far as getting into that second touchdown and making it a 27-14 game. The entire day, I felt that they were just ripe for the upset, and that they were awfully flat when they started the game. I just can't emphasize enough that when you play it in the NFL, every week you got to be ready, because it doesn't matter what the other team's record is, they can beat you, because there is so much parity in the league. Players are the same types of players, they just have different types of uniforms on. And you know, the Vikings are not in a position to be that overconfident. You remember last year, they would have lost the playoff berth had the Cardinals beaten the Cowboys in that last game of the regular season. They didn't. Minnesota got in, eventually got to the conference final, so they can't take anything for granted. 4th and goal at the 1. Is stuffed by Lifford Hobley, and the Miami Dolphin defense can be proud of the fact that they have not given up any points today. This is a fitting end for both the Dolphins and the Vikings. Hobley is not fooled at all. He's looking for that bootleg of yours. Instead, he gets the reverse to Malarkey. Great play, and a bad play if you're a Viking fan. Loss of 6 yards. And the Miami Dolphins will take over on downs. How many times have they done that today? They blocked the field goal attempt by Nelson. That was the closest that the Vikings came to scoring. Offerdahl intercepted a pass, and the Dolphins went in to score. And then Brown with an interception at the goal line just before halftime. Judson ran back an interception 50 yards. I think the Dolphins are ready to join the AFC East. Well, the Jets were leading, and the Buffalo Bills lost today to the Chicago Bears. The Vikings have 1 timeout left. Now, the Jets, who had the big lead against Kansas City, are now in overtime. As the CBS Sports Wire tells us, it is all tied at 17 in overtime. So with the Jets on the brink, maybe, and Buffalo losing, the Miami Dolphins could gain some headway today. Let's check standings. Well, they're back in the race like people thought they would be. This was a very big win for them. They had to beat Minnesota because on their schedule coming up, they got the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Jets in 3 weeks. But they're back in it. There's no question about it. Miami is in that race. Now in the NFC Central Division, with the Vikings losing today, they move out of that first-place tie with the Chicago Bears. And Tampa Bay would be a game behind. Well, Tom Olivadotti has talk about people who should feel very proud of what they've done today. The defensive unit, he's the head man. Well, and he's been under a lot of heat the last couple of years to get this defense turned around and playing well. The main thing he did and that he has is he's got the same guys playing every week now. They used to have a Greyhound bus parked outside their training camp bringing in and out defensive football players. Now they're settling in. They've got the same front 3 every week. Their linebackers are playing well. Mark Brown, if Hugh Green's feeling okay, he should give them another boost. And their secondary has not allowed a touchdown pass in the last yet this year. 5 straight games without giving up a touchdown pass through the air. That's a pretty strong record. And the Miami Dolphins coming home. Terry Burns told us yesterday they need to win, because if they go 1-4, losing at home to us, that could be their season. And his worst nightmare came true. The Dolphins have exploded today. And the Vikings are out of timeouts, and that should do it. Fans who have remained cheer the Miami Dolphins as they now have won 2 out of 3. They beat Green Bay 2 weeks ago, and after a 2-point loss to the Colts, shellacked the Minnesota Vikings, who may no longer be amongst the elite in the NFC. Final score here at Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami, the Miami Dolphins 24.